Good evening. Welcome to the July 5th council meeting. If you'd please stand, Councilman Kurt Burton is going to lead us in the flag salute.
Please stand, place your right hand over your heart, repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. Our first proclamation this evening is for Parks and Recreation Month. Before we read off the proclamation, we'll be presenting a video highlighting Chino's exceptional parks and recreation programs, as well as the staff in community services and public works who work hard to provide the Chino community with excellent service all year long. So let's roll the video.
Chino is where small businesses and families grow.
Chino is where community grows and where fun grows too.
Where strength grows.
Where leaders grow.
Where friendship grows.
Where community grows.
The City of Chino's motto is where everything grows, so it's no surprise that the community grows here as well. As a Chino resident for the past 20 years, I have grown with the city as a child all the way to a city employee, so it's a full circle moment there.
I think Chino does a great job of bringing the community together just through our different special events like Corporate Challenge, bringing companies together to participate and compete. Even with our youth track and field meet, we have all the different elementary schools and junior high schools throughout the community coming out to compete with each other. And I just think that that plays a big part of how together our community always feels and the way that people come out and actually continue to participate in a lot of the things we have going on.
My favorite experience in Chino would probably have to be the Christmas parade. Since I was little, my mom would wake me up early in the morning and tell me to grab a chair and go outside and watch it. I always loved watching all the different floats and the classic cars and everything and all the performers. It's a really good experience and it's still something that I enjoy watching and taking part in. I highly recommend Chino residents to take advantage of the city's mental health resources that are low cost or free.
The Tiny Tots program is a great way for kids that aren't in school yet to be introduced to a classroom setting. It helps them with their cognitive development, like with hands-on experience, imagination play, and a ton of crafts. It's amazing to see myself in the Tiny Tots program, and now, years later, my own two kids got to experience the same program in the same city.
Working in after-school programs, I was able to actually have the children of people I went to school with in that program. So it was really great to see kind of the full circle of everybody growing up in this community.
I like the after-school program because of the fun activities and I get to hang out with my friends and the staff are nice. The teachers here make me feel super great.
I think the Senior Center is so great because I'm able to come here and I've made new friends over the years and there's just a lot of activity to do here. We have exercise classes in the morning, there's a pool room, a computer room, and well, I've really seen the growth since the years that I've been coming here, and people are excited to come here and to join in and get involved. That's what's really nice.
I think Chino residents would be surprised to learn that a lot of our events have a bunch of features that are free, not only for Chino residents, but everybody as well. And then just how many different programs we offer, whether it's our youth sports, after-school programs. We have so much going on that I think a lot of people don't really know about.
We are the Community Services Parks and Recreation Department, where community grows.
Okay, and our proclamation reads, whereas nearly 3 in 4 U.S. residents have at least one local park, playground, open space, or recreation center within walking distance of their homes, and 84% of U.S. adults seek high-quality parks and recreation programs when choosing a place to live. Parks and recreation programs are vital to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in Chino and contribute to the economic and environmental well-being of our community. Parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease and improves the mental and physical health of all citizens. And whereas parks and recreation programs provide positive alternatives for children and youth during non-school hours to reduce crime, helping youth develop and grow into healthy, productive adults. In Chino, we are fortunate to have over 250 acres of parkland and open space, which provides opportunities for our community to celebrate the outdoors. The Chino Community Services Department has adopted the California Parks and Recreation Society's Parks Make Life Better slogan and logo to promote the benefits of parks and recreation. Since 1985, July is celebrated across the nation as Parks and Recreation Month, and the City of Chino urges all its residents to recognize that Parks and Recreation enriches the lives of its residents and visitors, as well as adding value to the community's homes and neighborhoods, making Chino a great place to live, work, and play. Now, therefore, I, Eunice Amulo, Mayor of the City of Chino, do hereby proclaim July 2023 as Parks and Recreation Month in the City of Chino and urge all residents to enjoy, recognize, and help promote the benefits derived from quality programs, services, and parks, which provide something of value to everyone. Now we have our chairman of our Community Services Commission with us, who is going to give us a talk.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, Mayor Pro Tem. My name is Bobby Martinez. I am the chairperson for our Community Services Department. I have something I wanted to read real quick for these amazing individuals up here. First of all, thank everybody here. When it comes to community programs, activities, and sports, our city is second to none, and I truly believe that. Our Community Services Department, which includes our wonderful staff, volunteers, and many more that aren't up here, the hours they put in, the city programs, the events such as Success, it makes the city thrive, and real proud of that. As our city continues to grow, develop, our Community Services Department evolves along with it, continuously thinking outside the box to keep our community active. Throughout the year, there are over 60 community events that occur within our city each month, and you guys will see those. We just had the fireworks that display Saturday, so there's a lot of things happening with the city, so it's pretty amazing. Along with these events, the city offers programs and for individuals ranging from tiny tots, teenagers, after-school programs, and into our seniors. These events and programs offered are to keep our city healthy and active. All this comes together with a collaborative effort, which also includes our Public Works Department. They are responsible for making our city parks and buildings look great. Appearance is everything, and they excel at what they do. This is one of the reasons why we are considered a boomtown, and that we are truly remarkable at that. A clean, healthy, and safe city to live in doesn't happen overnight. It takes plenty of hard work and support. I'd like to thank our mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, and staff for your continued support. I also would like to thank our first responders for keeping our community safe. This right here is a well-deserved proclamation. You guys deserve it. You do a lot. I've said this the last year when I got up here to speak. When we all go home, they're still there. They're there first thing in the morning. They're there after the event. They're the heart and soul of this city. This is what makes our city work. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you all. Again, congratulations. We have other commissioners here too I wanted to introduce. We have Commissioner Takeuchi, Linda Takeuchi. Commissioner Julissa Montenegro. And Commissioner Neil Jerry.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for those kind words. My name is Sylvia Avalos. I'm the Director of Community Services. Over the year, our Community Services Department has been wholeheartedly committed to serving our community, offering a wide array of programs, facilities, special events, and services. I'm excited to share some big news that will further enhance our department's identity and better represent the breadth of our services. After careful consideration, and based on the findings of a recently completed Parks and Facility Master Plan, our department name will be changed from Community Services to Community Services, Parks and Recreation. Alongside our renaming, we're also enhancing our engagement with the community with new social media presence. You can follow us at chino.cspr on major platforms for all the latest updates about our department's activities and initiatives. What makes the timing of our rebranding much more significant is that it coincides with July's National Parks and Recreation Month. We invite you to celebrate with us by visiting a park or community center, enrolling in an activity, or attending some of our great special events. This change signifies a new chapter in our department's story, but one thing remains the same: the team's dedication, passion, and tireless commitment to serving our community, which never ceased to amaze me. Let's enthusiastically embrace the new chapter in our department's story and commit to our shared values and goals. Thank you, everyone, for your continued support.
She's going to get a picture. Kind of all spread out. One little tidbit of information. Commissioner Linda Takeuchi is the reason why we have Tiny Tots. When her kids were little, she came to a council meeting and kind of very sternly suggested that there was a program that the city of Chino did not have and that we should have it if we wanted to be a quality community. Well, we did what Linda asked, and that program has been with us now for many, many, many years, over 40 years. So it's been a long time. So we take seriously suggestions from the community. We listen to you. We don't always do what you ask us to do, but we try pretty much to do what's recommended. So Linda, thank you again.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, you're welcome, sweetie. Thanks. You're welcome. No more tickets. Next, we have the Mayor's Home Beautification Award for July. I'd like to call up Janice Gilland. Janice, are you here? She lives at 13122 Brenton Avenue, and we're going to be showing a picture of her home. We have a certificate that reads, "Thank you for your continued improvement and maintenance of your home, resulting in a substantial contribution to the overall appearance of the community." We also have a photo of your home.
Nice.
Okay. We have a pen and a pencil set. And we have the coveted, of course, yard sign.
Oh, whoa. Thank you so much. You want to hang on to that?
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, hi. I've lived in Chino since 1978, and I remember living out here, and there was us and the cows.
Yeah.
And I really liked it out here, and I've been here ever since. My first house was a little 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and I ended up living there for many years, and then I ended up buying this house with my husband many years later, and it's a larger house, and we've been there ever since, and it just so happens that this one is off of Yorba in Chino, and it's right down the block from where I used to live. Yeah. And so we decided to put artificial turf out there, which at first I didn't want to do, but I thought it was the right thing with the water issues at the time. And we ended up putting drought-tolerant plants out front, which I didn't want it to look like a desert scene. But we hired a company to do that for us, and I just really liked the way that it turned out. And so we did that for the front yard, and we still have real grass in the backyard for our dog and us. And so I'm really happy with the way it turned out, but I was really not expecting anything like this, and so we were really, really excited when we got this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And your house is beautiful. It looks absolutely amazing. And isn't it nice that you don't have to water or mow the lawn?
I think maybe that's half the reason why my husband decided to do that.
Of course. Well, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
You're welcome.
Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, next we have a very, very special presentation, and that's the Business of the Month, July 2023. Chino loves its local dining spots as the community continues to support them year after year. Our mom and pop restaurants are the perfect combination of great food and nostalgia. This particular dining establishment has not one, but two family restaurants in Chino. For the month of July 2023, we would like to recognize Flo's Airport Cafe as our Business of the Month, and I'd like, come on up. I'd like to call up the representatives that are here, and Donna Hughes and the team, please come join me up in front. Come on, all of you come up. Come up. We have room. Come on up. You're all important, absolutely. It's a family restaurant supported by family members. Exactly, absolutely. Flo's Airport Cafe has been serving the local community since 1963. The founder of Flo's, Flora Slack, followed the dairy farmers from the Artesia area when agriculture moved from the Los Angeles area to Chino. In 1975, she sold Flo's Airport Cafe to her good friend, Paul Hughes. The Hughes family still owns and operates Flo's today. Many employees have made Flo's a lifetime career, such as Albert, who has worked for Flo's for 44 years, and Roxanne, who started at Flo's 34 years ago. Flo's Airport Cafe considers their team members family. Like many Chino businesses, Flo's give back to local organizations throughout the community, such as church events, school fundraisers, and on a regular basis donates food, pies, and other baked goods to those in need. It is truly a blessing to have a restaurant reside in the community rich in agriculture. Because of this, restaurants like Flo's are able to buy local produce, eggs, and fresh fruit from our city ranchers. Milk comes from one of our local dairies, Hollandia. How do you say it? Hollandia. Right, dairy. And Mission Linen supplies linens for the Chino icon. Please congratulate Flo's Airport Cafe for creating not one restaurant, but two restaurants that serve the city of Chino, and for being our July 2023 Business of the Month recipient. I'd like to present you with this plaque. And it reads, July 2023 Chino Business of the Month. The city of Chino thanks you for being part of the Chino community. Presented this day, July 5th. Okay, I'll hold that. Would you like to say a few words, Donna?
I just want to thank everybody, all of these people up here. I couldn't have done it without them. And all of you people out there, we couldn't have done it without you. And glad to be here. Thank you.
Oh, wait, got to get pictures.
Ronnie, you need to be in the picture. Ronnie, get over here. This, by the way, is Pam. She's second generation with our family, and her daughter is Roxanne, and then Roxanne's sons have all worked for us also. Because she's in Bullhead City having a good time.
Well, that's rude.
Pam, yeah, Pam should be in it too.
Pam, come over here. And what about the gentleman leaning in the door?
That's her husband. He's still working. Oh, that's Terry's husband.
Pam, come up here for the picture. Well, everybody knows Flo's biscuits and gravy, right? It's what they're famous for. Thank you so much. And I know there's been challenges getting to the restaurant now because of all the construction that's going on in the city of Ontario, but it's worth the detours. I don't know how much longer the roads are going to be torn up, but please make it a point of going to Flo's. It's a very, very important restaurant to our community. I remember years and years ago going there in the morning, and of course at the time it was all the milkers and the big milk boats and the the overalls and everything, and so it was just, I don't know, it was a the dairy gossip table, the round table with all the big dairy guys, and that's special. I think all of us will remember that for a long, long time. But it's a great place to go, great food, great biscuits and gravy. Thank you very much. Prior to the council meeting, we did have a closed session, and I'll ask our attorney to provide a report out of that meeting.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council, and everyone in attendance. The City Council met in closed session as announced by the mayor to discuss the single item on the closed session portion of the agenda, specifically conference with labor negotiator concerning the various employee organizations identified on the agenda and previously announced. City Council received an update, provided unanimous direction, and no further reportable action was taken. Thank you. That concludes the report.
Thank you. City Manager Wright, do we have any additions or revisions of the agenda?
No changes, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Next, under public announcements, as we enter July, I want to keep everyone updated with our ongoing and weekly summer programming. Chino Summer Nights. First, our Chino Summer Nights is back after a week off for the annual Fire Spectacular event. This week, we'll be showing Lightyear. All participants will be able to enjoy fun activities, food, retail booths, and of course, a great movie. The Chino Summer Nights will continue every Friday through July 28th on the City Hall lawn at 6:30 p.m. For all questions, please call 909-334-3258. Now, as a reminder, starting Thursday, July 6th, and occurring every Thursday until August 3rd from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. is the Chino Concerts on the Lawn, brought to you by the Chino Kiwanis Club and the City of Chino. Please make sure you bring a chair and or blanket and get to the City Hall early to claim your space. The series starts off tomorrow with Red Hot Cholo Peppers, a Red Hot Chili Pepper tribute. The final concert will be Escape, which is a Journey tribute, taking place on Friday, August 11th at Founders Park, located at 8151 West Preserve Loop in the Preserve. For any questions, please call 909-334-3256. Lastly, Chino Senior Center's annual Seniors at the Square Summer Concert Series begins Monday, July 10th at Aguirre Square. There will be live music and dancing from 5:30 to 8 p.m. every Monday through August 14th. This year, there will be a snack bar hosted by the Chino Youth Museum and a barbecue sponsored by the Kiwanis Club of Chino on July 24th, and the Chino Police Department on August 14th. There's no cost to those who wish to come, only for the entertainment. Any questions, please call 909-334-3271. Next on the agenda is public communication. This is the time and the place for the general public to address the council about anything that is not on the agenda. Our first written request to speak is Mr. Lon Wagner from Cross Point Church. He's going to lead us in an invocation, so all those who would like to participate, please stand.
Thank you. Let's pray. Lord, we thank you for this city that we get to live and work and play in. Thank you for all the good things that are happening here. Lord, it seems like in so many ways our city is thriving. And so we thank you for our leaders. Thank you for our city council Thank you for the wisdom that you've given them and the heart that they have for the people of Chino, which shows and is so evident as they do their work. Thank you for our police officers and firefighters who serve us so capably. Lord, thank you for the courage that they exhibit as they run toward danger, as we so often run from it. Thank you for the local business owners and the vital ways in which they contribute to community life. Thank you for our schools and how they serve our children and families. We pray for the teachers and staff that they would be refreshed during this summer break. And we thank you, Lord, for our local churches and how they contribute to the faith development of their members. Lord, we pray for your protection over the people of our city. We pray that you would cause families and schools and businesses to thrive, to benefit all who call Chino home. And Lord, we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Now, that's the only written request to speak I have. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on any item that is not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to put somebody on the spot. I see the family, the Ryan family is in the audience, and coming up very, very soon is the 4-H FFA auction. I would like one of you to come up, please, and explain to the audience what's coming up and how they can participate. Please. He's going to kill me for this later.
Hi, my name is Thomas Ryan, and I was a member of Don Lugo FFA.
Thomas, you need to speak into the microphone.
I was a member of Don Lugo FFA and Monte Vista 4-H for 5 years, and I showed sheep and chickens and all that. And it's a great way to support the youth and help promote agriculture in a community that is sadly losing it. I recommend going to the auction or going to the shows during the day. It starts next Monday with the small animal show, and then the larger animals are throughout the week. It's a great time, and I had a lot of fun doing it when I was there.
And the auction and the barbecue?
The auction is Friday night at 7 p.m., and I believe tickets are $8.
A week from this Friday night?
Yes.
Yes. And how can people contribute financially?
You can register to either purchase an animal or give what we call an add-on, which is just a donation to the students or 4-H members to help support and offset the costs of their projects.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's really a great program, and I really encourage all of you who have never attended to please go. The barbecue is always wonderful. It's a deep pit barbecue with absolutely phenomenal food, but it's so easy to help these kids. You can add on $10, $5, $25, whatever you want. You can pick the student that you'd like to help. If you are so inclined, you can buy a whole animal if you want, and Hottinger's here in town will process it for you. So it's a great way to help the kids. We still do have 4-H and FFA in our community. We're one of the few that still support it, which I hope we do way, way into the future. So thank you for being here. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. Do any council members wish to have any items pulled for discussion? No? Okay, then I would entertain a motion in a second, please.
Mayor, can we do a voice vote on this one?
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion from Councilman Lucio.
Second.
Second from Councilman Burton.
Thank you.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any objections? Okay, consent calendar passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is public hearing. Item number 10, PL 23-0041, General Plan Amendment, PL 23-0014, Pre-Zone and Annexation, PL 23-0015, Zoning Ordinance Amendment. This area is the Ramona Francis Annexation. I'd like to declare the public hearing open and request a staff report from Mike Hitz, our principal planner, and Warren Morleone, our interim director of development services. Gentlemen?
If I could make a very brief announcement before you turn it over to your staff.
Sure.
I just wanted to say that I verified that there were no annexation actions taken at the Planning Commission during Councilmember Burton's tenure on the Planning Commission. So I find it appropriate for him to participate in this meeting as well as the next item, which also concerns annexation issues. So I'm happy to answer any questions on that.
Thank you, Fred.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. In October of 2017, the City Council had directed staff to gather information to better understand the fiscal implications annexations have on the city before acting on any future annexations applications for properties located within the unincorporated San Bernardino County area of the city's sphere of influence. Staff hired a consultant to conduct an economic analysis that would include the fiscal effects of 4 different annexation scenarios of the incorporated areas, which encompass approximately 1,500 acres. The 4 fiscal alternatives included a status quo, which is a do-nothing alternative, which allows annexation on a piecemeal basis as they presently occur, meaning applicants would start that process. And number 2 being annexation of all county island areas as determined by the local agency formation commission throughout this report known as LAFCO, and a phase or partial annexation alternative. And the final would be a complete sphere of influence annexation alternatives, including an analysis of a review of current infrastructure in the sphere of influence and analysis of future infrastructure improvements. Following the completion of the economic analysis, a joint workshop was held with the Planning Commission and City Council in January of 2021 to discuss the findings, and it was determined the best approach was to work on annexing the county islands over the next few years. A county island is described by the California Government Code and LAFCO must meet certain requirements to be considered an island annexation. These include not exceeding 150 acres in size, being substantially surrounded 60% by the city that the area is being incorporated into, and not containing any prime agricultural land and other provisions. So this is the annexation area here in question. There are currently 7 islands identified by LAFCO in the city of Chino. 5 of the islands are located within the northern sphere of influence, and 2 are located within the southern sphere of influence. As a result of the analysis, the City Council directed staff to start the county annexation process by annexing 1 island first. The proposed island annexation is approximately 145 acres, as shown on this slide, and located within the northern sphere of influence around the intersection of Ramona and Francis Avenues. Included in this annexation area is the 13.35 acre Yorba Villas project, which is located here at the northwest corner of Francis and Yorba Avenues. That was approved by the San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors in October 2022 to allow for the development of 45 single-family homes at a density of 3.37 dwelling units per acre. This approval also included land use changes that amended the San Bernardino County-wide plan from very low-density residential to low-density residential and county zoning district from single residential 1-acre lots to single residential. The current City of Chino general plan designation is RD2, which is 2 units per acre. The Planning Commission held a duly noticed public hearing on February 22nd and June 7th, 2023. Prior to the February public hearing, staff received a letter from the applicant for the Yorba Villas project, Borstein Enterprises, concerned that the pre-zoning of their property as outlined in the proposed project is inconsistent with the recently amended San Bernardino County land uses. Furthermore, the letter stated that this inconsistency, in quotes, will cause significant harm to our project, specifically building and selling a project that's arguably inconsistent with applicable zoning, would inhibit our ability to obtain construction financing or a buyer's ability to obtain home loans. Additionally, in the letter, Borstein Enterprise requested that the city adopt a general plan amendment and pre-zone the property from RD2, 2 units per acre, to RD 4.5 units per acre to be consistent with the county's adopted land uses for this project. At the February 22nd hearing, 3 residents spoke in favor of the annexation, primarily stating that the city could control development in the annexation area and be able to use code enforcement to clean up the area. The president of the Batu Hamida Mosque spoke in favor of the annexation, wanting to work with the city to conduct modifications to the mosque in the future. In addition, 2 residents had concerns about the need to maintain larger lot sizes in the area. Ultimately, the Planning Commission continued the project to a future meeting to allow staff time to analyze the land use issues identified in the Borstein letter. After analyzing the issue, it was determined it was appropriate to make the requested land use changes as part of the annexation project. The project was re-noticed for the June 7th, 2023 Planning Commission meeting. On June 7th, 2023, the item was brought back to the Planning Commission for review and action. At the hearing, 1 resident had concerns about being able to retain the size and quantity of marijuana plants on his property. Additionally, the Planning Commission asked questions of staff if the Yorba Villas project could be required to be modified or the number of units reduced. Staff informed the commission that the city would be required to accept the entitlements granted by the County of San Bernardino for that project. The commission also had questions about the amount of annual estimated budget deficit the city would be accepting by annexing this area. Following the public hearing, the Planning Commission voted in favor of the project by a vote of 5-2. So as mentioned, the city was proposing a general plan amendment to change the city's existing general plan land use for the 13.35 acre Yorba Villas project site from RD2 to RD4.5, which is for this property here, to be consistent with the county's adopted land uses for this project. The initial intent to resolve this issue prior to the request from Bornstein Enterprise was to process a general plan and zoning map amendments for those parcels at a later date, along with the comprehensive general plan update, which is anticipated to be completed next year. However, state law states that no land use changes are permitted to take place within 2 years following the certification of an annexation. The mapping and development of these parcels are likely to take place prior to the annexation certification, and the comprehensive general plan update is proposed to be finalized in the summer of 2024. Additionally, state law and city policy requires that when a property is annexed into the city from the county, any entitled development projects, approved uses, or building construction are legally permitted in the county are required to be accepted by the city. Furthermore, when LAFCO is considering an annexation, they take into consideration consistencies between city and county land uses to avoid incompatibilities and legal nonconforming developments. Next on the council agenda tonight is a pre-annexation and development agreement between the city and Bornstein Enterprises to allow sewer service for the Yorba Villas project. With this agreement, and to be consistent with state law and the policies of the city of Chino and LAFCO, staff has determined it is in the best interest of best planning practices. The city should make the general plan amendments to the Yorba Villas parcels at this time to be consistent with what has been previously approved by the County of San Bernardino, and not wait for the city's comprehensive general plan update. Furthermore, this will allow for the proposed pre-zoning of the annexation area to be consistent with the amended general plan map, allowing for the developer to move forward with its project and avoid financial issues outlined in the Bornstein Enterprise letter. It would also avoid a development that is inconsistent with the underlying city land use regulations and zoning regulations. The pre-annexation and development agreement for the Yorba Villas project also provides the city is not to submit the resolution for annexation to LAFCO until the Yorba Villas receives its final map approval and secures its first building permit from the county, or by December 19th, 2023, whichever comes first. So then we move on to the annexation pre-zone map. This slide here represents the zoning of the annexation areas that's consistent with the general plan now, shown on the previous slide. The annexation area includes mostly single-family residential zone parcels, some of which are vacant, and others that are utilized for animal keeping and various agricultural purposes. There's also a mosque and a small market, both located on residentially zoned properties. The current zoning designation for the annexation area is RS1, single family, 1 acre minimum lots, RS20M, single residential, 20,000 square foot minimum lots, and RS, single residential, 7,200 square foot lots. The annexation area includes an approved single family residential development known as the Yorba Villas. The homes are yet to be constructed. The majorities of the properties to the south, east, and west of the annexation area that are within the city are developed with single-family homes, with a small commercial center at the southeast corner of Ramona Avenue and Philadelphia Street. The properties to the north within the county are mostly semi-rural residential development that includes animal keeping and agricultural uses. The proposed pre-zone and annexation is intended to transfer the Ramona Francis annexation area from the county to the city of Chino and establish the RD2 zoning, which allows for 1 to 2 dwelling units per acre, RD 4.5 zoning, which allows for 3 to 5 dwelling units per acre, and P, which is public zoning for these properties. The P zoning is intended for the development of publicly owned facilities such as parks, recreational facilities, libraries, and public schools. Proposed pre-zoning of the Ramona Francis annexation area will only apply if the City Council approves the pre-zone application and when LAFCO records its certificate of completion in the future for the annexation. A plan for service and fiscal impact analysis, which is attached to resolution number 2023-039, as required by LAFCO, has been prepared for the proposed Ramona Francis annexation. The plan for service was completed by the same consultant that conducted the sphere of influence economic analysis in 2018. The plan for service fiscal impact analysis looks at the costs associated with the city taking over servicing this area in relation to anticipated revenues from property tax, development impact fees, vehicle license fees, and sales tax, and other revenue sources. The analysis took into account the additional 45 single-family homes to be developed with the Yorba Villas project within the next 3 years. The analysis also determined that an additional 75 single-family homes could also be potentially be developed in the RD 4.5 zoning properties after annexation. Based on the presumed revenues and city expenditures, the annexation would result in an average annual net deficit to the city's budget of approximately $190,000 a year, with the largest expense deficit to city budget related to police protection. Resolution number 2023-039 initiates the annexation proceedings with LAVCO. Once the proposed project is annexed into the city from the county, property taxes collected by the county will be transferred to the city as outlined in the plan for service. The city will receive its full property tax share. This has been confirmed with LAVCO that since the project is being treated as an island annexation, the city will receive its full tax share when the tax share agreement is finalized to the county during LAVCO's application process. The plan for service includes an estimated of development impact fees, park fees, and administration fees that may be collected for the potential 120 units noted above through build-out year 2040. It's important to note that based on the pre-annexation and development agreement between the city and Borstein Enterprises, the city would only receive development impact fees and administration fees related to the sewage collection facilities for the 45 units within the Yorba Villas development. The county would receive the remainder of development impact fees. This change in development fees does not impact the estimated annual deficit of the city budget outlined above. As part of we had a public engagement outreach. As part of the pre-zone and annexation process, city staff conducted a public engagement campaign to provide specific information to residents and property owners within and adjacent to the annexation area. The goal was to inform the public what would likely change or what would not change with annexation. A web page on the city's website was created, detailed mailers were sent out, and a workshop and open house were held to provide information to the residents. Both events were attended by approximately 30 residents. One of the primary concerns discussed related to animal keeping and the ability for residents to continue to keep the animals they are currently allowed to under county regulations. For the majority of the annexation area, this is an issue, but a zoning ordinance amendment has been proposed to address this issue, which will be discussed later. Another issue of concern by some residents was them being compelled to connect to the city's sewer system. The city is responsible to provide backbone sewer system to both the city and the unincorporated areas within the city's sphere. Currently, there's very little backbone sewer in the annexation area, with the majority of the properties on septic systems. The only sewer main adjacent to residents within the annexation area is a small segment along Yorba Avenue. State law requires that properties located within 200 feet of a sewer main would be required to connect to the sewer main when the capacity of the sewer generated on-site exceeds the existing septic system. This typically happens when a property owner adds on to their property or the septic system fails to no longer work properly. The requirement to connect exists whether the property is in the county or the city because it is state law. There were also some concerns about code enforcement, the concern being the city would aggressively enforce regulations. Residents were informed that much like the county, the city primarily responds to complaints and works with residents towards compliance. The residents were also informed that property taxes would not change and the city would honor any uses or improvements that were legally approved by the county. So as mentioned, there's a zoning ordinance amendment that has been proposed that would allow residents within the areas that are annexed into the city to continue to keep the same type and quantity of animals as was approved in the county. Some of the properties within the annexation are going from a county land use of RS20M, which is 20,000 square foot lots, that, for example, would be allowed to keep horses to a land use in the city that would not if their property was zoned RD 4.5. This ordinance would allow them to continue to do so even if this use is discontinued or sold, provided the property isn't developed further in accordance with RD 4.5 zoning, meaning if they were to subdivide that land into smaller lots. A 10-day notice was mailed to all property owners within approximately 500-foot radius of the project site, which exceeds the noticing requirement. In addition, a 1/8 page notice was published in the Chino Champion on June 24th, 2023, and the city sent out information on the city's social media platforms. In response to the public notice, no comments have been received. This notice exceeds the legal noticing requirements. An addendum to the city's general plan and environmental impact report has been prepared and determined that the project will not create new or significant impacts that are significantly different than those identified in the original EIR. The proposed zoning ordinance amendment related to animal keeping has been deemed exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act since animal keeping is existing and allowed use. So thanks for bearing with me for my very short report. That completes the staff's report, and I'm available to answer any questions. The consultants that drafted the plan for service and impact analysis is here, as well as our environmental consultant, as well as a representative from the county and from LAFCO. And Warren and I are going to remain here for the next item if you have questions of us for that as well.
Mike, I have never heard you speak so much. Prior to council comments, I'd like to see if there's anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on this item. Okay, seeing none. Oh, yes, sir. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Paul Griffin. I live at the Aventine Apartments on the border. I discussed this at a previous meeting with the, I don't know what you call them, a subgroup. Nice to see you again, Officer Burton.
Nice to see you, Paul.
I just want to express my sincere desire to have at least the southern portion incorporated. I grew up on Carlisle. I biked to Briggs back and forth during my younger days. And just bicycling down that street of Philadelphia, going from city land to county to city to county back to city. As a kid, I actually kind of feared a little bit of like, am I going to get hit by traffic? Because those narrow roads converging in the incoming traffic, I think it would just be safer for all of our school-age children who are biking through those paths, just to have that more room that you would down Philadelphia all the way down to E.J. Marshall. I know it's easier said than done, but having lived at Aventine Apartments since 2007, I've seen our rents double. And any development for apartment complexes to somehow combat the demand for single house living, just to help maybe reduce the overall rates for apartments would help. I know it's a drop in the bucket, but anything can help. But it also includes that since I'm now a math teacher at Don Lugo High School, the declining enrollment has always been an issue throughout the state of California these days. More apartments, if they are affordable, especially developed in these areas, would help our enrollment. I think it helps out the community in general. I don't know as far as a fiscal impact, whether we make more money on homes and estates than we would multiple family living dwellings, but all of these things I think would benefit us, at least from my perspective. So that's all I wanted to say.
Well, thank you very much for being here. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address the council? Okay, seeing none, then we'll close the public hearing. Council comments? Karen?
Mike, I think my first question on this staff report is a simple one. What was the planning commission issue where we had 5 people vote in support of it and 2 people in opposition to it? Were we able to work through that? I'd be interested for the public and myself to know, since I didn't.
Yeah, one of the commissioners had commented that he had some concerns about the annual deficit of 190,000, and which related to the making certain the city had received its full tax share from the county. So after the meeting, we reached out to LAFCO, confirmed that because it's an island annexation, the city will receive its full share based on the agreements we've had with the county. We also checked in with the former director that he had been working with the county to kind of lock that in. We have to go through the process through LAFCO. There's a tax share agreement that will come back to the council towards the tail end of the LAFCO process, but our understanding to this point is that we'll receive our full share, and we're going to work towards that during any negotiations as needed.
The Mayor Pro Tem, I'm sorry, the Mayor Pro Tem, the other planning commissioner did not mention anything through the process in terms of trying to gauge where that commissioner was coming from in terms of the denial. So I wanted to point that. One had mentioned something, the other didn't.
The first thing I'd like to say, Mayor, is that if you want to see a verbose and lengthy report, read this report and the next one, and then perhaps you can understand, Paul, why it takes so long to bring any development to fruition in the state of California. When you're reading it, there's, a majority of it that I didn't understand what I was reading because there's so much that goes into bringing a project like this to the table. So there's things about this project that I do and I don't like, and one of them is what has been shared is the fiscal impact that we're looking to for the city. I'm like anybody else, when you look at the housing project that's being brought back, regretfully it's being brought back with a higher density than the lower density. But conversely speaking, I think one of the things to look at with this project is by annexing this into the city, we get to have more local control over development to that area and code enforcement and the things that people have talked about. So this is truly one of those agenda items where there's a lot of pros to it, but there's a lot of cons to it as well. And I think my biggest concern in this, Mayor, should this council decide to move forward with this action, would be to really study this island annexation and the fiscal impact that it could have to the city for several years, because I think that's of great concern to us financially moving forward. And perhaps this would be a good case study for us to determine the economic feasibility of the other, I guess, 4 or 5 that remain to the city that we're presently looking at. So those are my comments for the time being, until I hear further from the rest of the council.
Okay, thank you. Curtis, did you have any comments?
I like the Mayor Pro Tem, have really gone through this at length, and at this point in time, my concerns are the same as the Mayor Pro Tem's, as far as fiscally what kind of impact it's going to have on us.
Okay. Mark?
I didn't attend any of the workshops that you guys did with the community, but like the gentleman had spoken about expanding the roads. Just so we didn't make any promises that we're going to expand the roads anytime soon, correct? Because my understanding is that we would do that. We're currently looking at, I think, an additional $7 million a year to get our roads, the current ones that we have in the city, up to par. So I just want to confirm we didn't make any promises that we're going to expand any of the roads down there or do any type of infrastructure right away into this area, which I think would put us even further in the deficit.
No, there was no commitment. We did discuss, it would all have to be programmed through capital improvement projects down the road, just like any other, project in the city. So there was no discussion of like in 5 years we're going to do something. It was more, it would definitely be down the road.
Right, and just to clarify, that cost is the O&M cost, just to right.
Operation
and
maintenance, police,
cost.
code enforcement.
No infrastructure improvements, none of that. That'll be done, like Mike said, down the road, either project-driven or a CIP project of some kind.
Now, do we need to do any backbone sewer system in this area other than what's currently on Yorba to be able to facilitate all the needs from this community that we're annexing or potentially going to annex?
Yes, so to answer your question, there would be some improvements necessary if we want people to be on sewer up there. There is a initial analysis that was done for the area. We still have to vet out if that's all the improvements that are necessary. We would vet that out along the way, but there would be some sewer improvements necessary.
Do we have an estimate on the cost of that?
No, not at this time.
You have a ballpark figure?
We've done a little bit of study on if we were to put the complete sewer backbone in all of our infrastructure, in all of the sphere, it would be about 20 million.
I'm just talking about this part. This
part?
Yeah.
About 2 million.
About 2 million?
Yeah.
That's all. Oh, and so just looking at the map, so currently on the bottom, it's currently already zone 4.5. We're talking about the color-coded one towards the south end. The only change is only to the proposed subject site of 4.5. That's the only one that's changing from RD2 to 4.5.
We'll pull up the map just so we can let everybody know exactly what you're talking about. You're correct. It would only be the portion that is part of that Yorba project.
Yeah, only that corner would be the general plan change. And then once that's in, that subject site there as a part of that general plan change. So this is our existing general plan map. So there's no other general plan changes, map changes. What we have to do is we want the zoning to kind of lay on top of the general plan so they're both consistent with each other.
Now, is this consistent with what the county's currently looking at zoning this area?
They rezoned it to an RS, which is very similar lot. It's a 7,200 square foot lot, which is the same minimum lot size we require in the city.
Okay.
It's different. I do have that map. We have, this is the county's land use map. It's very similar. You can see it with this RS is similar to our 4.5. What's kind of significantly different is this area right in here, which is going to 4.5, this RS 20M. And that's kind of what we thought is the area that would be subject to the ordinance, that if those folks in that area that are going from an RS 20M to a 4.5, they would be able to retain their ability to keep animals as they currently have.
Now, the location that you guys are talking about with potentially 70-something more homes going in, what location is that?
That'd be primarily in any of the 4.5, which would be, let me go back up. You can see here, so there's like these unfinished cul-de-sacs. So we thought some units could be there. Potentially in this area here, there's some properties that can be consolidated potentially, and the same in kind of these areas in here. And this is really over a build-out, like to 2040. It's not in the near term. It's just we just want to make sure we're analyzing the potential and include that in the plan for service.
Okay. I don't have any more questions.
Chris?
Yeah, my question is in terms of the timeline. If this passes today, what are we looking at in terms of this fully being annexed?
Well, as stated, we have to go through the process of the agreement with that's coming up next. That has been completed first. Once that's completed, they want to go record the map with the county, get that recorded. Once the map is recorded, which can't be, I believe, any sooner than September, so sometime between September and December, we would submit the application to LAFCO. Their process is roughly 6 months.
So about a year from today.
Yeah, that probably sounds about right.
And you mentioned that the we do get the food share, right? The food share. In terms of numbers, what does that look like? What is the food share of all these properties here in this?
So traditionally, in this area, the city gets 10.4% of the 1% that's collected in property tax. The city would get.
Okay, and assuming all goes well, that would be enough to cover the 190 deficit that was mentioned earlier.
The 190 deficit is in addition to that tax share. So what we do is we look at they take a kind of a per capita analysis of how much it costs per person for the city to serve the community, and that's sort of the cost. And there's the revenues then come in from taxes, sales tax, vehicle license fees, and other taxes and other monies that come into the city. So there's just that offset. So it's just an estimate. You could have property tax could be way more because homes turn over quickly, or home prices could go way up. So there could be changes there. There could be a shopping center that gets built that brings in sales tax in the area. There's different things that can happen. So it's just an estimate based upon the information we have that we estimate to be about $190,000 a year.
And other than the subject site, are we currently aware of any other projects that have been submitted or proposed?
Not that I'm aware of in that county land, no.
And just another question, but it's more for the chief. With this annexation of this land, how much more strain is this going to put on your police department? Are you going to need to hire anybody additional, or will you be able to manage this with the current staffing that you have now?
No, we would need additional staffing, and we worked that into the study that they did over time. And I don't remember the exact figures. I want to say it was between 1 to 3 officers over the course of the time for that. But that's where that deficit comes in, is paying for that. But we know initially, immediately, we wouldn't have that. But the other side of that is we have a lot of criminal activity up there already, and it is not readily being addressed, but it is still coming over and impacting our community members already. And our officers are up there and on protecting our residents and catching some of those already.
Okay.
I have one more question. So in the report, as the chief just said, the biggest financial impact was the public safety over the years. That was the biggest, I think, cost impact. And you talked about the streets, the present ongoing maintenance and repair. So there, in certain areas, that doesn't lend itself to development really, so we would have to actually take that on for the city on its own, right? When we go to pave those and do not just the asphalt, but the cement work, right, with the ADA developments. But if we did take it where we're having development, we have the opportunity to hopefully maybe offset some of that with development impact fees. Is that the other benefit to it? Because there's like the con the con to it as far as the cost, but the pro and potentially the development to help us get some of those improvements that we see when we annex or when we develop at different areas.
For certain, with that additional 75 units, as those come in, it would be kind of twofold. The developer would be required to build certain improvements, and then also there'd be development impact fees that could be used for future capital improvement projects to pay for other projects in the area.
Kurt?
And while it was brought up, if you can, please get with Paul and find out what stretch of the roadway he's talking about. I believe Paul, you said Philadelphia. At Carlisle. If you could take a look at that stretch of the roadway, I want to make sure that if it's within the city, we're doing everything we can to make that as safe as possible for pedestrians and bike riders up and down that area.
It's in the
Carlisle
county.
is in the city.
When it's to the west, yeah, that's what he's talking about.
If we can just check our city area as well, I want to make sure we're okay over there.
Anything else from council? I have a question, Linda. Supervisor Hagman had said that with ARPA money, he would consider building the backbone infrastructure in this area, and in fact did a survey on how many people would be interested in hooking up to the sewer if the county did indeed put in the backbone. Has there been any activity in that at all, any progress?
I'm having ongoing discussions with the supervisor. So from that survey, about 75% of the people who live in there would be willing to connect. However, they felt that $5,000 was a good dollar amount to connect to sewer, and in reality, it's more like $35,000 to $40,000. So I did put together some numbers for the supervisor, which I sent to him on the cost, which is about $2 million to put that backbone in, and then supplement the difference between the $5,000 and the $35,000 to $40,000. So he has that, and we are in discussions now. No decision has been made.
Okay, now this particular project, the subject site, they are going to pay their own costs to create whatever is needed to put their project on the sewer. Is that correct?
Yes, I can answer that. As part of the agreement that we'll discuss it on your next agenda item, that's exactly correct. They're paying the city's entire development impact fees and any applicable sewer connection fees.
Okay, so there won't be any negative impact on the city when it comes to infrastructure for this particular project site?
That is correct. The project will not be paying all your typical development impact fees, but a lot of those are being paid directly to the county to process the permits that they've secured from the county.
But they are paying to put in the sewer?
Correct.
Okay. Now, on your $190,000 deficit, did that take into effect the increased property taxes coming in from this particular site once it's developed?
Yes, yeah, that's factored in.
Okay. Chief, we already now respond in that area when there's criminal activity that affects our community. And like you mentioned, there are things that go on in the unincorporated area that we can't directly affect. But once this area is annexed, the people living in this area will have full access to our police department, correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay. How much more, let's see, how do I word this? You're already active in the area because of calls for support services now. How much more active do you think you're going to be in this area once it's annexed?
That's
immediately going to ramp up or slowly?
Yeah, I think immediately we would be in that neighborhood, and we'd start addressing it, any criminal activity there. And as you know, a lot of times it's an initial addressing of the activity. Once we address it and we can get rid of it and people realize there's regular patrol and enforcement, then I think some of those problems will diminish, and then the amount of service or time we spend there could decline.
Okay. Now, I know there's always chit-chat about how long it takes the sheriff to respond versus how long it takes us to respond. What's the average response time for in that area now from the sheriff's department? Do you have any idea?
I do not know. Our average response time citywide has been averaging about 5 minutes and 59 seconds. And because of where that's located, we're already responding there. I don't see that changing that response time.
Okay, thank you very much.
And Chief, we have a study, correct, that has been proven to be very reliable based off of land use, how much first responder and support personnel we would need. So based off the designation of the land use, we could almost pencil it out with quite a degree of accuracy, right? We've used that in the past. It's proven to be very, very accurate.
Yep. And that's what they used for that study to
So
determine.
we have a methodology in place, Mayor, to predict that and figure it out moving forward.
Some of the questions I'm asking for the benefit of
course,
people listening that wouldn't
absolutely.
know. So they would have immediate access to the Chino
Absolutely.
PD, and you respond within about 5 minutes.
That's correct.
Compared to sometimes a whole lot longer from the sheriff, who is very sparsely manned.
Well, and they cover from the, that area all the way to Mount Baldy. So they have a very large area that they have to travel.
With very few officers.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Having experienced going through an annexation like this in our area, which was the last, prior to the Ag Preserve, was the last largest annexation the city had done in a long, 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 long time, which was about probably 22, 23 years ago that they annexed our area. Some of our roads still are not improved because the homeowners that live on that particular part of the road, and I'm talking about Phillips, have never chosen to upgrade their property. So it's still a very narrow 2-lane road. It isn't a direct, immediate burden to the city. We don't move in and immediately improve everything. Things are improved incrementally as properties are improved or developed or whatever. So we're not going to feel an immediate crunch on capital improvement projects unless we choose to do that until progress happens. Also, I was interested in what you commented also on animal keeping, because there's a lot of people in that area, obviously, that have animals that wish to keep them. Now, usually, in the past, it was my understanding that once someone got rid of their animals, if they had an overlay zone of, say, 4.5, then the animal usage, they would lose that ability. But you're saying that's going to stay with the property until the property subdivides. Is that true?
Correct, that's how it's crafted, that's how it's written, because we wanted to be sure someone could have 4 horses now, they decide to sell them all for some reason or another, and then in 3 years they want to get 2, we would allow them to get those 2, even though they didn't currently have any horses, because the county's jurisdiction, the county zoning would allow it under that previous land use designation.
Okay.
Yeah, and Mayor, to add to that many people had asked about that, and the other thing too, till such time, to be clear, till such time the property gets developed.
Right.
So with these big properties, it makes sense for people to have the animals still, to allow them to go away and come back with the bigger properties. But once it gets developed in tract development, then it doesn't make sense. So we're given that opportunity till that time.
Okay.
And if they sold the property as well, that would still remain with the land.
Okay, that's good. I also want to ensure that somewhere in our paperwork, now in the past, when we annexed like the East Side Specific Plan, we had the right to farm ordinance. So that when, like this new site that develops, they're going to be close to very intense agricultural usage. Much like when people move near an airport, all of a sudden they don't like the noise of the airport and they want the airport to go away. Well, the animal keeping was there before modernization comes, so to speak. I want to ensure that we have our right to farm ordinance, which was protect people that already have some type of agriculture animal usage, despite the fact that someone else besides them decides to implement some kind of new building. Yes?
Yeah. And that's the section that we're actually amending, is the right to farm section, to add that this animal can be allowed in those areas.
Okay. Because I know that people moved to that area on purpose in order to have their animals and crops and the different things that they do. And I don't think it's right for the existing property owners to lose their rights just because someone new comes in and decides to change something.
Right, and much like we do in the preserve, we could have them have an agreement that they understand that with any development that comes through as a condition of approval, that they would have to enter into an agreement.
Okay, very good. Kurt?
In this proposed annexation area, do we know how many existing homes are in that area that would be coming into the city?
I do know it's about approximately 120 parcels altogether, but there's a few parcels that are for ag purposes, and I'm not confident on the exact number of homes in there. I want to say it's a little over 100.
And I know that being in the county area now, they don't have the regulations that the city has for building. What kind of an impact, if you know, will that have on our code enforcement folks?
You mean, do they have existing permits for?
Well, the shape of some of these residents up there are, in my opinion, subpar to a lot of the others that are currently in the city.
Mm-hmm.
So how will we address that issue?
Well, like we do for anywhere else in the city, through code enforcement, if there's obvious maintenance issues that need to be addressed, we would, proactively let people know that. Most of the time, it would be through a reactive enforcement. If a neighbor has a concern about something they're doing on their property that isn't permitted, then they would let code enforcement know, and code enforcement would go work with those property owners and residents to fix those issues.
And having this combined, like the police department, they're going to have to add personnel. Would we be adding personnel into code enforcement as a result of this annexation?
Not for this annexation. I think the chief was talking about globally having the entire sphere, both the north and the south, annexed, and that's where you would get up to I think the 3 officers or so. But for the annexation itself, it doesn't require us to add any officer at that time. But as we start annexing, from my understanding, talking with Mike Carew, the person in charge of code enforcement, that eventually will transition into needing more officers as we get more and more property. But from my understanding, with this one annexation, we don't need any more code officers at this time.
Warren and Mike, thank you.
Also, if a usage is illegal in the county, chances are it's illegal in the city. And if it's legal in the county, it's legal in the city. So if a property owner currently has something that they know doggone well is not legally permitted, they may end up having to change their usage, correct?
Or correct the violations, whatever those might be, correct?
Okay. Karen?
Again, I go back to, there's a lot of pros and cons of this. One of the pros is that it does clean up our jurisdictional boundaries in that area through the island annexation. So some of the concerns that people talk about, like the roadway design or improvements there, with our city, those roadways now, which a lot of them are in dire need of, at least slurring, right, will go right into our system, and hopefully, we'll see an improvement over there sooner rather than later. The conflicted side is you have residents up there, like the mayor was talking about, even though we have a right to farm ordinance and different things in it to protect them. I think you have a lot of residents up there who are on these borders that are looking forward to having access to code enforcement and different things because they have neighbors who are doing things, Mayor, that you talked about that are not permitted through the county or different non-conforming uses. And I think, initially we could struggle a little bit with some conflict up there with people who are living in the city. Now these areas are in the city. Now they want us to advance on that. I go back to also the original housing project, coming in at one density and 4 or 5 years later coming in at even a higher density. Can you also explain to the public, if we were to annex it, what would happen to the zoning for at least a 2-year period up there so that the public knows?
Well, following an annexation, there's no land use changes that could be permitted for 2 years. So if someone wanted to come in and do a general plan amendment or a zoning amendment, they would have to wait 2 years following the certification. So if that was to happen in a year, it'd be 3 years from now before any application could come in to make any of those land use changes.
So when we talk about, the greater impact of the development that we could get through the development impact fees or even the other taxes, we're knowing that's part of the study that the consultant did for us and projecting that out. I go back to, if the council decides to move forward with this, I think this is something we should study because there is a significant financial impact to the city. Those are my comments, Mayor. Thank you.
On the code enforcement part, I just happened to recollect something, and that is there was a problem that was reported to me. It's county, so we can't do anything about it, but there was actually sewage leaking down the street. And apparently it was very difficult for the neighborhood to get the county to react to it. I mean, it was an open leakage from a septic tank. So one good thing with the city being involved is we obviously will not ignore things like that. So we'll get to the bottom of those kinds of issues and get the health and safety items corrected. Make sure they're taken care of and people are actually safe.
And that's definitely a benefit, Mayor. If you look at all our borders that we would like to clean up through some of these things, it would be nice for us to go in there and not allow for some of those things to happen. And I think there's going to be an expectation from some of our residents that some of those things happen sooner rather than later, which is, to Councilman Burton's point. So.
I think with any annexation, there's a possibility of a bit of a negative deficit impact on the city, but when you step back and you look at where do we want our city to go in the future, and I think local control is one of those very important issues. What do we want to see built? What do we want for our community? What do we want to cherish and hang on to? What do we want to evolve to? When you look at almost all of the county area, there are no parks planned, there's no schools planned, there's no real plan for the eventual build out of streets. Any kind of shopping centers, anything like that. It's just not there. It's just kind of, the county is, they kind of just take it as it comes. Whatever somebody, applies to do, they kind of go along with it. And I'm looking forward to our entire sphere of influence eventually being in the city of Chino, where we have areas that are going to be preserved for permanent animal agriculture in perpetuity, where people know I moved here because, I want a half an acre or whatever, and I want room and crops and that kind of stuff. I don't want to live in a stack and pack and close to someone. I want to be near a park. I want, walkability and bikeability, and you're not going to get that when you're in the county area. It's just the county is too big. They don't have the staff to take care of that kind of stuff, and they don't seem to be able to move forward with any kind of large general plan amendment that would take care of ensuring that you have parks and that sort of thing. So I'm looking forward to, at Build Out, we have a very comprehensive, well-balanced community as a whole. Any other comments before we move forward?
Just a question, Mayor, I'm sorry. The trash services up there, who currently services their waste?
Same with the city. It's slightly different how it's processed. I believe they pay like a bill every 3 months. It'll have to switch that out and get billed through the city like we are now.
Right now, they can have any waste hauler that they want, right?
I think some of them have Burtec.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some people have roll-offs and some different things. So we would, similar to what we did with the previous annexation era, we'll have to work through that in time, but it won't change significantly. The fees might be a little bit different than what they pay now versus what they would pay in the city.
We just have to have consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, then I would ask for a motion. Oops, I gotta get back to the right. Let's see, is our voting system not working? Oh, it is now. Okay, I have a motion from Councilman Flores, second from Councilman Burton. Prior to the vote, I'm going to ask our city attorney to read the ordinances by number and title only.
Thank you, Mayor. Before the council are two ordinances, beginning with ordinance number 2023-015, entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Chino, California, pre-zoning approximately 145 acres of land to RD2 residential/agricultural, RD 4.5 residential, and P public for parcels located east of Norton Avenue, north and south of Francis Avenue, north and south of Philadelphia Street, and west of Yorba Linda Avenue within the City of Chino sphere of influence, specifically described in the listed assessors parcel numbers, within the City of Chino sphere of influence and in connection with pre-zone annexation PL 230014 and amending ordinance number 2010-06. And the second ordinance is ordinance number 2023-005, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Chino, California, amending selected provisions of the zoning code, Chapter 20.16, Right to Farm, and Chapter 20.20, Nonconforming Uses, Structures, and Parcels of the City of Chino, PL 23-0015 Zone Ordinance Amendment. And this is being done by title only and waiving further reading. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, and the ordinance does pass. The item does pass unanimously. Okay, now we're going to move on to item number 11, Yorba Villas Pre-Annexation and Development Agreement. This is the introduction of ordinance number 2023-014, approving the Yorba Villas Pre-Annexation and Development Agreement. Declare the public hearing open and ask for a staff report from our city attorney, Mr. Fred Galante.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council, and all of those present. Before the council is the Yorba Villas Pre-Annexation and Development Agreement. As part of annexation of the Ramona Francis annexation that the council just approved, the developer representatives of the project known as Yorba Villas, located at 4570 and 4664, Francis Avenue, within the annexation area, approached the city to address how their entitlements could be addressed as part of the annexation. Yorba Villas received approval of a vesting tentative map by the County Board of Supervisors on October 4th, 2022, to develop its 13.25 acre site with 45 single-family homes, a new private street, a small park, and street improvements along Francis and Yorba Avenues. City staff and I negotiated the components of the pre-annexation and development agreement to specify how that will proceed, and that draft agreement is attached to the staff report. The key components of the agreement are as follows. The Yorba Villas owner will support the annexation by the city. The project will connect to the city's sewer system by way of an extraterritorial sewer service agreement, which is incorporated as part of the pre-annexation agreement. As such, the approvals sought this evening for this item include authorization to provide sewer service to the project, subject to approval by the local agency formation commission, LAFCO. And this will be an extraterritorial sewer service agreement because the property is not yet annexed to the city, and the provision of sewer service is required by the developer in order to get its final map approved by the county. So the provision of sewer service is requested whether or not LAFCO ultimately approves the larger annexation item that was previously considered. The agreement requires the city to acknowledge the entitlements the owner received for its project and to pre-zone the property as was just done. And that pre-zoning is in line with the county approvals. The project will meet all requirements of the zoning designation, including the city's small lot residential subdivision ordinance at chapter 20.13, except as to the approval of private streets. This will be a gated development. The owner will be solely responsible for the costs and the maintenance of those streets. Pre-zoning of the property consistent with the county's approval was required by the developer to avoid the project being a non-conforming use, as your staff has explained. The county is anticipated to perform all of the inspection and permitting process for the project except those related to the connection to the city's sewer services, which the city will perform and receive the fees, as I had previously explained. The county fees will apply and not the city's development impact fees or other fees except for those sewer-related fees. The owner will comply with the city's accessibility of pedestrian facilities policies to be consistent with the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act. On June 7, 2023, the Planning Commission considered the proposed agreement and found by a vote of 5-2 that the agreement is consistent with the city's general plan. Also, in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act, the approvals include the adoption of an addendum to the environmental impact report that was certified by the county as part of the county's approval of this housing project. Approval of the pre-annexation and development agreement is done through the approval of an ordinance, as with all other development agreements, which is part of the recommended action for this evening. To streamline the process, I will read the title of the ordinance now. Before the council is ordinance number 2023-014, entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Chino, California, approving the pre-annexation and development agreement by and between the City of Chino and Yorba Villas LLC related to the development of approximately 13.25 acres of real property within the City of Chino's sphere of influence, APNs 1013, 2011, 21, and 22, authorizing such development per Chapter 20.13 and approving sanitary sewer service for the property subject to local agency formation commission authorization. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions the council may have. I do see that there is a representative of the developer in the audience, should you have any further questions of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Prior to council comments, I will open it up to public communication. Does the developer want to address the council?
No, I don't.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on this item? Okay, seeing none, then I'll close the public hearing and turn it over to council comments. Chris, do you have any comments?
No comments right now, Mayor.
Mark?
You know, I was here when this came to us, I believe it was like 4 years ago, and it was only 30, I think it was 30-something homes. And it was a big outpour by the community completely against this project, and now the project comes back, you know, 4 or 5 years later with additional homes, 45 homes now, as opposed to the 30-something, but yet nobody from the community's here. I'm not really understanding what changed. I voted against this project the first time because of the community didn't want the zoning changes up there, but now apparently there doesn't seem to be any opposition. We didn't get any letters of opposition to this at all, did we?
No, I don't think it's that there wasn't opposition. I think since the county had chosen to move forward with it and it was inevitable, I think they just more or less figured there's no sense protesting when they knew it was a done deal with the county.
Okay. Okay. That's my only my comments is I just I know when it was 38 homes we voted it down and now it's 45 and it's back, but we've already done the amendment to it, so there's really not much more that we can do from that. I hope the development turns out as good as it looks. I hope that the improvements to the sewer system occur so that the homes can go in place and we can move forward with it. I just, I don't want to fall into a trap that if something gets zoned in the county, then we just automatically take it and change our zoning here in the city. So obviously, I'm okay with doing it this one time, but I hope this isn't a pattern that continues to happen in the unincorporated areas, and then as a result, we just have to live with the changes. Hopefully, we can do something with working with the county so that it mirrors what we're looking at potentially in the land uses so that it doesn't come up anymore. And those are all my comments.
Yeah, I would agree. We've had those conversations with the supervisor and there have been comments that indicated they're willing to work with us to make sure the zoning is similar. However, I know that our current county supervisor's desire is for high density. He has verbally expressed that, does not agree with lower density at all, and thinks that the city should support high density. So I don't think we're ever going to fully agree with him on that, but hopefully we will come to some kind of mutual agreement on zoning so that this doesn't continue. But again, I think that's another reason why we should move forward with these annexations so that we do have control over our destiny. Karen, you have any comments?
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with Councilman Lucio's comments. I think that there's a lot of moving parts to all the things that have happened here in the past 4 years, including the development itself, the retooling of it, the bringing it back, sewer rights and different things. Like I said in my earlier comments when we were studying this, I think this annexation hopefully will serve as a good test case for us to study and evaluate the ability for us to provide services to these areas, not just, public safety and police, but staffing and roads, but also code. But I also, I want us to be wise as a council moving forward when these projects are brought to us, based off the requests from developers, wherever these would occur in our sphere of influence moving forward. So thank you, Mayor.
Kurt?
Thank you, Mayor. My concerns were all spoken up here, and I have nothing further. Thank you.
One thing I'm very disappointed in, I know the numbers of units have increased. One thing I'm really disappointed with is the lack of any kind of RV parking, changing the footprint around so that we could accommodate, or they could accommodate people's needs nowadays. And there are a lot of people that have boats, Sea-Doos, that kind of stuff, and there's nowhere to put them. And of course, there's an extra expense for having to store them off-site. So I was really disappointed in the new layout that the developer didn't make any kind of effort to accommodate that. Okay, is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on this item before we close the public hearing? Yes. If you'd come, no, you have to come up here, please.
I'd like to tell Mr. Lucio the reason there is no opposition to this because it's already been rubber stamped through the county and there's nothing else we can do.
Anyone else have any comments they would like to make? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Mayor, I'd like to
Yes.
make one clarification for
Yes,
consistency. I know in the staff report, at least in this staff report, it identifies the property as 3.25 acres. We have it as 3.35. We verified it's 3.35, so I'd ask that you be aware that it's 3.35, not 3.25, and that we can make that change in the agreement, please.
Okay,
That would apply to the title of the ordinance.
okay, all right, so those changes will be made, right? Okay, now, Mr. Galante has already read the ordinance by title, so I will need a motion and a second, please. Okay, somebody make the motion in second. It's a motion from Councilman Burton, second from Councilman Lucio. Please vote. Christopher, there you go. And the item passes unanimously, 5-0. And again, the ordinance has already been read by number and title. Next item on the agenda is item number 12. Darn. Introduction of ordinance number 2023-016, Community Services Department and Commission name change. This item is a revision to the Chino Municipal Code to change the name of the Department of Community Services to the Department of Community Services, Parks, and Recreation. Staff report once again provided by our city attorney, Mr. Fred Galante.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This is a fairly straightforward ordinance that changes reference in the municipal code to Department of Community Services, the Director of Community Services, and other similar phrases to reflect the addition of Parks and Recreation. It also updates the Community Services Commission with its new name, Community Services, Parks, and Recreation Commission. Some minor additional cleanup changes are also proposed, but with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, anyone like to address the council on this item? Seeing none, council comments? Okay, then I would entertain a motion in a second, please. Motion from Councilman Burton, second by Councilman Lucio. Please vote.
And if I could read the ordinance.
I'm
very
not going to
quickly.
read the vote yet.
Thank you, Mayor. Before the council is ordinance number 2023-016, entitled an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Chino, California, amending multiple sections of Chino Municipal Code to change the name of the Community Services Department and the Community Services Commission. That's being read by title only and waiving further reading. Thank you.
Okay, and the item did pass unanimously. Item number 13, final acceptance of public improvements, parcel map number 19889, Liberty Property Limited Partnership. This item is to accept the public improvements for Liberty Property LP, PM 19889, located at the southwest corner of Eucalyptus and Yorba Avenues, as complete and authorize the release of the performance bond and initiate the warranty bond. Staff report this evening will be provided by our Assistant City Engineer, Jesus Plasencia, and our Interim Director of Development Services, Warren Morleone. Gentlemen.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. On December 3rd, 2018, the Planning Commission approved tentative track map number 19889, an amendment to Eucalyptus Business Park specific plan, a site approval, and a special conditional use permit, all submitted by Panettone Development Company, Incorporated, for the purposes of constructing 2 industrial buildings on 10.24 acres of land located at the southwest corner of Eucalyptus Avenue and Yorba Avenue. In early 2020, the property was sold to Liberty Property LP, who then designated Prologis as the developer of the project. The conditions of approval for the project require the construction of public improvements, including curb and gutter, sidewalk, curb ramps, driveways, parkway landscape, road pavement, and utility service lines. In addition, the developer was conditioned to mitigate impacts identified in their traffic study, which includes the construction of a second eastbound left turn pocket at the intersection of Chino Hills Parkway and Ramona Avenue. Subdivision improvement agreement and associated security to guarantee the construction of these improvements was initially approved by the City Council on October 9, 2021, and then later approved on April 19, 2022 to correct errors found in the original document. The public improvement plans for the project underwent various rounds of review with city staff between February 2020 and December 2021, with the first plan approval being provided in April 2021 for on-site grading activities. The developer later received their encroachment permit to begin construction along the property's frontage after their public improvement plans had been approved by the city. The construction of improvements at the intersection of Chino Hills Parkway and Ramona Avenue required the developer to obtain approval from not only the city of Chino, but Caltrans in the city of Chino Hills as well, because all 3 public agencies had jurisdiction over a portion of the intersection. The developer experienced delays in getting the plan approval from Caltrans, thus prompting them to request the issuance of a temporary certificate of occupancy because the timing of the intersection improvements may be falling behind the completion of the rest of the project. City staff initially denied the developer's request due to traffic-related impacts that may occur without the completion of the additional eastbound left turn pocket. But after further discussion and negotiation in June 2022, city staff agreed to issue a limited temporary certificate of occupancy that only allowed the tenants to start moving their equipment into the buildings and allow setup, but not start full business operations. The developer received all necessary approvals to construct the intersection improvements in September 2022, and construction was completed by November 2022. City staff then subsequently issued final temporary certificates of occupancy upon completion of the intersection improvements. The public improvements along the property frontage on Yorba Avenue, Boulder Street, and Eucalyptus Avenue were completed in August of 2022. However, city staff determined that certain sidewalk and curb ramp improvements didn't comply with accessibility requirements. So city staff coordinated with the developer to rebuild the non-compliant improvements, which were completed by March 2023. City staff then initiated the project closeout process, which was completed by May of 2023. City staff has determined that the public improvements are now complete and comply with all applicable city standards and accessibility requirements. The developer has also paid all project-related fees and has provided the city with security for a 1-year warranty period to ensure the correction of any defects found during the warranty period. Therefore, city staff recommends that the city council accept the improvements as complete for parcel map 19889. That completes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on this item? Seeing none, council comments? None? Then I would entertain a motion in a second, please. Motion from Mayor Pro Tem Comstock, second from Councilman Lucio. And the item passes unanimously. Item number 14, award of construction contract, Kimball Avenue Preserve Improvements Project, ST 232. This is to award a construction contract to CP Construction Company Incorporated, Upland, California, in the amount of $2,959,540 or $2,959,540 for project number ST 232 Kimball Avenue Preserve Improvements. Staff report will be provided by Michelle Hinson, our principal engineer, and Amr Jocker, our public works director.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. This action before you this evening is an award of construction contract and authorization of expenditures for the Chino Preserve Street and Storm Drain improvements at Kimball Avenue, project ST 232. The project is composed of 2 phases. The Kimball Avenue street improvements will widen the northern half of Kimball Avenue between Rincon Meadows and Main Street to accommodate 2 lanes of westbound traffic. The scope of work includes relocation of SE transmission poles, catch basins, curb and gutter, and pavement improvements. The street widening will complete the master planned Kimball Avenue roadway section in accordance with the preserve specific plan from Hellman Avenue to Euclid Avenue. The Kimball Avenue storm drain improvements will construct a boxed culvert structure in Kimball Avenue to connect the north and south drainage basins that are owned and operated by the San Bernardino County Department of Airports. On January 19, 2021, the city entered into a cooperative agreement with the county for the drainage improvements such that the city would be reimbursed for the construction and related costs upon completion and acceptance of the improvements. On June 27, 2023, the county approved an amendment to the agreement to update the reimbursable amount to the city since the bid amount exceeded the original estimated construction cost by more than 10%. On March 9, 2023, staff published a formal notice inviting bids via the city's Planet Bids website and locally on March 11 and March 18, 2023. The lowest responsible bidder was determined to be CP Construction Company of Upland, California, with a base bid amount of $2,959,540. Staff is therefore recommending City Council award a construction contract in the amount of $2,959,540 to CP Construction Company for the Chino Preserve Street and Storm Drain at Kimball Avenue, project ST 232. Staff is also recommending authorization to spend up to $295,954 for construction management costs, $147,977 for special inspection costs, and $395,259 for contingency costs for total project, potential project cost of $3,798,730. Tonight's action also recommends ratification of the amendment to the cooperative agreement passed through with the County of San Bernardino. Finally, staff is recommending an appropriation of $2,234,516 from the Transportation Fund with a backfill from the unappropriated reserves of the Bridges, Signals, and Thoroughfare Preserve Development Impact Fee Fund, and an appropriation of $1,216,812 from the unappropriated reserves of the citywide Storm Drain Fund with a corresponding increase of $3.5 million to project ST 232 for a revised project budget of $4,556,240.94. This concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you very much, Michelle. Omar, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
No, Mayor, just a correction on typo on the recommendation page where it says $4,556,240.94. The item 4 should be 4, and then it should be 5, award the construction contract, and 6, authorized expenditures, and 7, authorized city manager to execute the contract.
Okay, so note the renumbering. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on item number 14? Okay, any comments from council?
I have a question.
Yes, Karen?
Thank you for bringing this project forward. The according effect of Kimball, I think the residents and people are using those roads, as well as people are passing through our city, are going to appreciate the not choking down to one lane there. It's going to help traffic move through more efficiently. I do have a question. That street is already showing its wear. When we complete this project, will we be slurring all of it so it's all consistent, right? Because we have different phases of construction on it, where it's already showing different phases of wear in just a very short distance between Euclid Avenue to Hellman already. So are we going to slurry all of it so it looks the same, or to try and hang on to the road for the same period of time, or is there a plan for that moving forward?
The project will include slurry on the south half of Kimball between Rincon Meadows and Main, where we're doing the widening. So we'll also include the southern half of that. We can also look at slurry for the remaining portions to the east. It's part of our.
That'd be great. I think the more consistent we can have that road through that entire stretch there, I think that would be very nice for everybody. So thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Mm-hmm. Any other council comments? Kurt?
I believe you mentioned that the county would be funding this as well, along with us. Is that correct?
Yes, the county will be reimbursing us for the costs for the storm drain culvert that is going to be constructed to connect the basins they have on the northerly and southerly portions of Kimball Road.
And when we look at the totals, what, if you can figure it, what kind of a percentage is that off the top of your head, if you know?
The storm drain component was, let's see, it's $973,000. So
That would
about,
come from the county?
yeah, so about a third of the total construction.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, then I would entertain a motion. Yes, Kurt, Mark?
So I know that, people in the preserve that are listening to this, they're going to have a question whether or not we're going to start construction on this before we clean up Bickmore. Are we going to fix Bickmore before we start construction on this?
Mayor and council members, so this is a long construction project. There is some poles that need to be relocated. There is obviously the work that needs to be done for the county. So we're going to make sure that there isn't any closures that are happening. We will start some of the work, setting up for the moving of the poles and stuff, but we will not have any closures until until Bickmore is done.
And do we have any timeline currently right now on Bickmore, on whether or not when it's going to be completed?
I do not have that with me, but I can provide that later.
Okay.
No, we'll get you an answer.
Okay.
So we were hoping that Bickmore would be open now. There was an additional survey of completed sewer system that was also found to be deficient. The contractor is already underway in making those repairs. Our current estimate is at the end of July, we will be able to have Bickmore open.
Okay. Now, the other question is, during an infrastructure committee meeting, there was a potential of the owners of the shopping center, which is located where I believe it's the AMPM, that they were going to potentially come onto this project and also want to join in, and since we use the same developer, and make that left turn lane onto into the shopping center. Are they going to do it on their own, so they're not joining in with this contract?
We are entertaining the estimate from the contractor. They've been provided the plans, so we're currently trying to get an estimate from CP Construction to do that work, which the shopping center would reimburse the city.
Okay, so right now, they've just gotten the bid, so they haven't decided whether or not they're going to go with us or hire their own contractor to make that turn lane?
Correct. We haven't provided them the cost estimate yet. We're still getting that from the contractor.
Okay. And, you know, I'm looking forward to this. I'm sure the residents of the preserve are looking forward to this, because once this portion of the road is complete, this will be the first road in the preserve that is complete to its ultimate, from Hellman all the way down to Euclid. So I'm looking forward to that, and hopefully with the opening of Bickmore and the construction of Pine, we can start getting rid of some of this accordion effect that these people have going to and from work or taking their kids to school. But I appreciate you bringing the project forward, Amr. Thank you.
Chris?
Yeah, just a comment from some of our open houses down there in the preserve. One of the biggest issues I've heard was just the city's lack of communication, or, you know, I asked from our staff that once this does, you know, commence, that we, you know, do a better job at communicating with our residents down there in the preserve, with construction updates, and possibly even adding this project to our construction update webpage that we have on our city website. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, if there's no other council comments, anything from staff, then I would entertain a motion in a second for item number 14. Motion from Councilman Lucio, second from Mayor Pro Tem Comstock, and the item passes unanimously. Item number 15, approve the pre-qualified list and vendor cap for capital improvement project management and related services. This is to approve the pre-qualified list to perform these projects and services on an as-needed basis. Once again, the staff report will be provided by Michelle Hinson and Amr Jacker.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. The Department of Public Works Engineering Division is responsible for designing and constructing the city's capital improvement program projects. These CIP vary in nature and complexity and include waterline replacement, new water and sewer pipeline, alley and street rehabilitation, storm drain, transportation, and traffic projects, just to name a few examples. Due to the large volume of projects included in the current CIP, the department prepared a solicitation for on-call services to augment the city's public works project management resources for the current fiscal year. On October 27, 2022, the city released a request for proposals published on Planet Bids. On November 30, 2022, staff received 31 proposals, which were reviewed and evaluated by staff. The top 3 ranking firms were selected to fulfill the pre-qualified list. They will be utilized by the department for augmentation of project management and construction management staff, minor design, contract administration, and associated services as needed. Therefore, staff is recommending City Council approve professional service agreements with EXP US Services in the amount of $250,000, Trans-Tech Engineers in the amount of $650,000, and Z&K Consultants in the amount of $900,000 for on-call civil engineering services related to CIP projects in the City of Chino. That concludes my presentation. I would be more than happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Any comments from the audience on this item? Seeing none, I'll turn it over to council comments. Any questions or comments, questions from staff? Okay, seeing none, we would need a motion and a second to approve item number 15. Motion from Mayor Pro Tem Comstock, second from Councilman Flores, and the item passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is mayor and council reports. I'm pleased to bring forward item number 16, which is the appointment of our community services commissioners. Tonight we'll be approving the appointments of Robert Martinez, Julissa Montenegro Olivas, Patricia Pareda-Arlt, and Jamie Avelas to the Community Services Commission. After going through many interviews, questions, we have come up with what we feel is the reappointment of Mr. Martinez and Ms. Montenegro Olivias, who have done a good job representing us on the commission. And then we selected a new person, Patricia Arlt and Jamie Avilas, to the commission. We feel that these ladies will do an excellent job representing their communities and giving us a broad perspective of what we need in our community. So with that, I would ask for a motion and a second to approve the appointment of these 4 excellent people. So we have a motion from Councilman Flores, second from Councilman Burton, and their appointment passes unanimously. I would ask them to come forward, please, for your new oath. Patricia is not available this evening to come, so she will have to be sworn in later. Not sworn at, but sworn in. After you're sworn in, I would like each of you to, especially Jamie, to tell us a little bit about you since you're brand new to us. And then, of course, Julissa and Robert, you've been with us for a long time, so quick comments, please.
Support and defend the Constitution of the United States, and the Constitution of the Constitution of the State of California, Constitution of the State of California, against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance, to the Constitution of the United States, and the Constitution of the State of California, That I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. And that I will well and faithfully discharge. The duties upon which I am about to enter.
Robert?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Robert Martinez. I go by Bobby. I've been on the commission for the past 4 years, and it's been a fun run. I thank you for the reappointment. I'm eager to continue. I look forward to attending all the activities, our meetings. It's been a great experience for me. I've been in Chino my entire life, and you think you know the city until you come on something like this, the commission, and then it just opens a whole new world for you. So thank you again, and I appreciate it.
Welcome. Julissa?
Hi, my name is Julissa Montenegro, and I've been on the commission for 3 years now, going for 4 more, so I'm looking forward to working with our wonderful staff and my fellow commissioners. I'm a graduate of Don Lugo, and I'm currently attending the University of Laverne, and I started my volunteering in elementary school, and then here I am. Thank you.
Jamie?
Hello, my name is Jamie Avilas. I am very excited to be here, and thank you for this opportunity. I am an attorney for the County of San Bernardino. I actually work with a lot of Chino PD officers, so I'm excited to continue that work with them. I have been a former teacher. I taught 6th grade in LA Unified, and I'm just really happy to be here. I have 2 young children that are here with me, my husband who supports me, and could not do anything without my mother, who is actually here with us today. So thank you, and I enjoy my ride with the commission. So thank you.
Well, congratulations to all of you. And then when Patricia is back in town at our next council meeting, we'll have her come up and introduce herself. She was with Metropolitan Water District for many, many years, retired from that. Very familiar with the government, how it works and protocol, and really looking forward to working with her. So congratulations to you. Karen, I think you want to make any comments about the interviews that we conducted?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank everybody who applied for those positions. I want to say we had 17 applicants, some very, very qualified people. Congratulations to the reappointees. Congratulations to the new appointees on the commission. We're looking forward to your service with our community. I would have to say that you were up against some very, very tough competition. And it was nice to see the diverse field of people who applied. And for people who didn't actually get selected this time, I would encourage you to consider reapplying again. These positions do come open frequently. Maybe not frequently, but often enough where you could have another shot. But congratulations to the new applicants, and thank you to the people that applied. And it was 3 days of interviews, Mayor, but they were actually very satisfying interviews, and just congratulations to everybody that was selected.
You know what's heartwarming also is in these interviews you find out just how much people appreciate our community. You know, what's important to them, why they live here, why they either moved here or stay here, or maybe moved away and came back. So it's very heartening to hear the comments about our community and why people want to be involved. It's very, very nice. Okay, item number 17 I requested to be put on the agenda due to a suggestion of a citizen that wanted to have commissions changed, the appointment of community services and planning commissioners, the appointment process modified. I worked with staff. We did modify somewhat the internal workings on appointments to the commissions. I have attempted to involve council people. Up until now, it's been the liaison to the commissions, trying to balance our representatives throughout the city. I personally am hesitant to appoint strictly by district, as that may eliminate good candidates if we don't have a selection of good candidates. So, but anyway, I'm going to open it up to discussion. There won't be any firm decisions made tonight, just kind of brainstorming, talking about the process, how it works, and maybe some things to consider moving forward into the future. But I think it's a discussion that we need to have publicly. So I think I'll just go down the line if that's okay with everyone. And Chris, I'm going to start with you.
There's just a couple comments I have. In going through this process and this discussion, one item of importance that I've had for, I guess, a couple years now is, and we experienced it tonight with, pursuing annexating some of our sphere of influence areas. I'd like to see some representation from our sphere of influence residents, or soon-to-be residents, or however that may look, on our commissions, from community to planning commissions. I think it'd be awesome to have, again, some sort of rep from those areas, maybe the northern part and the western part, be a part of these commissions. Another thing is that the resident brought up during his discussion, I thought this was, a pretty innovative idea. Nothing different from what we're doing right now with the council meetings, but televising our commission meetings, whether that be live, and if it's not live, at the very least recorded and uploaded to our YouTube channel. I think that'd be a great thing for our residents and those who I guess want to tune in but can't tune in at the appropriate time. But those are my discussions for now, Mayor, and yeah, thank you.
Okay, Mark?
I've heard a bunch of different things, such as each council member potentially getting some people that they get to appoint, somebody on the planning commission, maybe get somebody to appoint on the community service commission. I know some cities do it. I know we don't do it. They're all done through appointments by the mayor, and then obviously somebody else sits in on the interviews. I really don't know whether or not there's a pro or con to that, other than, I guess there's a greater discussion than just two people on a panel. If obviously if it's somebody, if we do end up doing it in districts, then that person that represents that district could sit in on the interview and obviously be able to help pick the person that's in their area. Same thing with with the planning commission, although I think the planning commission right now is evenly represented, at least for my district. We have one person from the preserve, one person from College Park. I just think, you know, maybe there's other districts that they may not be evenly represented or have a voice. So I would entertain that. I mean, I would like to bring that back maybe into a workshop where we can all sit down and brainstorm and come up to a resolution together where something that everybody agrees upon. But I think that's my only comments is that having the opportunity that if we do end up breaking it up in districts, at least having that representative from that district to be able to sit in, not just the person that's the liaison, be able to, you know, so that way you at least have a voice in what's going to represent the area that you live in. And that's all the comments I have.
Karen?
Thank you, Mayor. I thought that some of the statements made by the resident were valuable and insightful. And for as long as this council has had a very healthy makeup before we were districted, I think the city is changing. I think it's becoming more diverse, it's becoming more populated in certain areas. I think that even though we're fortunate to have a council right now that views the city as a whole, I think there potentially could be value in examining not just the ordinance itself, but some of the ways we make the selections. I'm also interested in hearing from members of the public on the issue of appointments to the Community Services Commission and as well as the Planning Commission. I'm interested in hearing from the commissioners themselves, since they sit on the commission and a lot has changed over this time period. I'm interested to hear from our staff, and I'm interested to hear from each of us as a council and as a team as to some of their thoughts and ideas. The fact of the matter is, I envision a time where it would be nice for us, because of the larger social media presence and trying to explain to the larger public what these commissioners do and how important their advisory role is to the council. It would be nice, I think, also to have some of those meetings televised or uploaded and viewed later, as Councilman Flores recommended. There's a lot of important subjects that come up at these meetings, and sometimes people ask themselves how those recommendations get made to the city council. So there's that aspect of it as well. So I think there's a lot of aspects that we could look at now as a team and try to decide how to come up with the best process moving forward for the future needs of our community on both of these commissions. So those are my comments, Mayor.
Kurt?
Thank you, Mayor. I absolutely think that we need to rethink this and the appointments and how they're done. As far as having individual council members make the selections, I don't think that that's a good idea. I think that we would run into some issues by doing that. And I think that we leave it to the application process as we have, and we try to find the best person and the most qualified individual for that position on whichever commission that they're applying for. I have no problem with the meetings being televised. I think that would be additional great information for the community to understand where the city is going in the both planning area as well as the Community Services Commission. I believe that there was another comment that was made for term limits for commissioners, which I'm against. I believe that there is something to say about history and experience on a commission that you can't replace. I know that after a period of time, a lot of things change. We want people that have new thoughts and new, fresh ideas. However, we need that history to remain on our commissions so that people understand where we've come from. So that's my thoughts and my comments. Thank you.
Any other comments that have come up in your minds? Okay. I think Chris's idea of sphere involvement is good. Right now, we don't allow it because they're not technically part of the community. I don't know if it's critical for the Community Services Commission, but the Planning Commission, especially since we're moving forward with annexations, it might be good to get, you know, a representative, Chris mentioned, from each of the two major areas. Fred, can we do that? Would it be like an ex officio type member or a full voting member, since they're not technically part of the community yet?
Are you speaking of the commission or the planning commission?
Planning Commission.
The government code allows pretty wide latitude, including the ability to elect members from outside the jurisdiction. I believe they would serve in an ex officio capacity, though.
Okay, so it would be advisory.
Right.
I can see the value in having one or two people on the Planning Commission as advisory, because I know there's a lot of misconceptions out there when we go to annex, you know, property value or property taxes going up, that kind of thing. It would, hopefully, people that would apply would be influential in their areas and well thought of and trusted. It would allow them to bring information back to those areas, so that could be a point of discussion in a workshop. Linda, televising commission meetings, I don't know what extra effort, you know, physical impact effort it would take from our staff. Maybe you could look into whether they'd be live or recorded and then televised afterwards. Maybe you could bring forward some information on that subject. Appointing by districts, I think that's something we'll just have to discuss, you know, pros and cons and negative and positive, you know, that kind of stuff. So that would be a subject matter.
Mayor, I have a question about the at-large from the
sphere.
I don't know what setting we're going to bring this back in, because like I said, I think it's worthy of public input, the commissioner's input, but I have a hard time believing somebody would go and read, I mean, the voluminous amount of paperwork and everything that's involved in the planning commission and not being able to vote somehow. I mean, it's a big commitment. I'm not saying that they have to have, you know, that they have to, but again, I think when we come back to the meeting, I'd like to know if that's something we're prohibited from doing, or if it's something we would be allowed to do, if that was something we wanted to do. Because that's a lot of work.
I'm trying to confirm that. I actually believe the council has the right to make that decision and actually make them a voting member. I just wanted to verify that.
I think those are all the things that we should come back and, like you said,
There'll
we're
be
trying
discussion
to
on
vet
those.
out. Mhm.
Yeah. Let's see, if we have a workshop type, you want to hear from the commission itself, you want to hear from staff, you want to hear from citizens. I mean, I don't know if it would be wise to have kind of a roll-up the sleeves working workshop with just the council to kind of ferret some stuff out, or have a joint. You don't want to have both commissions, and sometimes if you get too many people involved, you're not going to accomplish anything, Karen. So is your idea to have a council workshop and then after we kind of ferret things out, then have a joint, both commissions and the council? Or what is your suggestion on trying to do this in a manageable way?
I'm open to whatever the council wants to do. If we want to meet first and then meet with the commission, or even if the commission wants to maybe appoint a couple people to the workshop to attend with us, you know, then maybe the chair and the vice chair, or, you know, they could take input from the commissioners and come and share it with us. I mean, I think there's a few different ways we could do it, but I'm open to whatever the council, however the council would like to do it.
Maybe what we need to do is have the council workshop first, to kind of, because there's a lot of discussion, we'll have to have staff look into some things, maybe ferret this down, and then have a second workshop with maybe the chairperson and the vice chair of the two commissions in the second workshop.
And yeah, I like that. The chair and the vice chair could speak, we could give them the task of speaking.
To their own, after
speaking
we
with- yep.
ferret through some stuff provided to them, and then they could talk to the commission, and then we could have a meeting with them.
I was thinking maybe we'd have them meet first, so that we can actually hear what they have to say. And then maybe they might give us some insight that we don't even know about. And that way we can at least get what they're taught, or at least understand where they're coming from before we start making recommendations.
That's a good idea, too.
I think I'd rather hear from them first.
Getting the cart before the horse.
Yeah, and then once we listen to what they have to say, then maybe at that point maybe we won't feel the same way.
I think that's good for the public, too, Mayor. Maybe we get to take the public's input before we make a decision. So
Well, why don't then you put an agenda item on the 2 commission meetings coming up for them to have a discussion about appointments and their discussion, to bring that back to us. I don't think this is something we're going to get done in like a month or so. I think this is going to take time. Let's see. Yeah, I agree with you, Kurt, on term limits. We need that history. We've got a couple of people on the commissions that understand where we've been, mistakes that we've made, where we could have improved. And if you lose that longevity, you also lose that connection to what's done right and wrong. So I'm not in favor of term limits on the commission. I don't have any problems with televising or recording, but I think we need the financial impact and the impact on our staff to decide on that. Okay, I think, Linda, does that give you some idea on?
Yes, so let me just clarify. We're going to put on the Planning Commission and the Community Services, Parks and Recreation Commission a topic to discuss commission appointments, how they feel that it works best.
Yeah.
So we'll do that first. And then the second, we'll have a council workshop where we'll talk about an ex officio members to the Planning Commission, the cost impacts or the staffing impacts for recording, and then about how commissioners should be appointed. Ahead of that workshop, we will make sure to provide the information necessary for the council to make its decision. Then we'll come back with a third workshop where we'll make the decisions.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's a good idea.
Is that how we get the public input, is in the final one, Linda?
You can get
They're
public
all
input.
open.
They're all public
They
meetings.
have to be because it's more than it's a majority.
Okay, got it.
So they have to be open to the public. Okay, and we have direction on that. Okay, for my activities since the last council meeting, Wednesday, June 21st, which was Bob and my 43rd anniversary, we spent it with the FFA 4-H Buyers Appreciation Dinner that was held at the Junior Fairground. That's always a fun thing to go to. On the 22nd, which was a Thursday, I attended the Chino DeSalter Authority Finance Committee meeting, and then that evening, the Taste of the Chino Valley. Peter Rogers and I were asked to judge the booths and the food. That was a lot of fun. And doggone it, I left my notes at home, but there was a professional restaurateur critique guy and his friend that were also judges, and I can't remember their name, I apologize, but it was really a lot of fun. And it was well attended, it was at the shops. On Friday the 23rd, I attended Mark's dad's funeral. That was a very, very nice service, Mark, and I love the fact that you had the mariachis there, because I guess that was, I understand your dad was quite a romantic and would actually have his wife serenaded. Your mom was actually serenaded with mariachis, so that was, it was a very sweet ceremony.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Friday, the 30th, on Saturday, the 24th, I attended Christina Garza's 100th birthday party. And she had a huge family. They had it at the gym at Boys Republic, and she's quite a sharp lady. She lives in downtown Chino. Very interesting, only a block away from Mr. Garnica. Remember, he had turned 100. It was almost 101. So there's something about living on like 13th, 14th Street down there. You're going to live to be pretty old.
Good living.
Pretty healthy, yeah. That was fun. On the 30th, Friday the 30th, I threw out the first pitch for the Chino girls' fast pitch opening ceremonies. I tried so hard to throw it right, and I missed the catcher way to the right. Doggone it, one of these days I'm going to make it where it's supposed to go. But the girls were good-spirited about it, and they just laughed. So, that evening, and then the next day, I was asked to provide the prayer for city, county, state, and national elected leaders at the Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills, America Celebration Musical. The Vice President of Commerce Construction, which is a branch of Majestic Realty, is their orchestra leader and their musical leader, and he is so talented. His name's John Burrows, and he led the program, and it was, I think you'll admit, it was quite a performance, and I'm sure other council members who were there will talk about it as well. But it's just, gosh, you leave that performance and you just want to cheer for America. It was just touching, and they acknowledge, the different services and people that were in attendance that were veterans. It was very, very nice. Saturday again, I did the same thing, the prayer at the afternoon. And then that evening we had our fireworks spectacular, and I really want to compliment staff. Public Works and police, and once again, it was just an amazing event. As far as I know, there were absolutely no problems. People just had such a good time. Families were out in force. People from all over come to that. I think, I don't know what the numbers were, but I'm guessing it was at least as much in the past, which was like 10,000 people. It was amazing, and it's so nice to see people get together and enjoy themselves. I had many people tell me how nice you can come to an event, pop up in your chairs and stuff, leave, and then come back, and you don't have a fear of things disappearing or being damaged or anything. It's just, I'm so proud of our community. We just have some really, really good people, good staff. They love the presence of the PD. I mean, you guys were everywhere with the explorers and everything, talking to people. It was just such a fun, friendly event. Let's see, then on the 3rd, which was Monday, Karen and I conducted council liaison interviews. We had 2 interviews that we conducted, and we selected a person that's going to be helping the council with our events and our calendaring of things. That's going to be a challenge. On the 5th, that's today, huh? Yeah, I had Omnitrans, and it's been a crazy week already. Had Omnitrans and SBCTA Board of Directors meetings. Then, of course, we had closed session before this. And I want to remind people that Friday the 14th is the 4-H and FFA auction. So if you've never been, please go. It starts at like 5 in the afternoon. They have a wonderful barbecue and your opportunity to meet the kids. The kids are amazing. These kids involved in these programs, I mean, they learn protocol and how to run meetings. They are incredibly responsible. They're obviously responsible for the animals that they raise, but they're also responsible to each other. It's a great program, and there's ways that you can donate and help the kids, and it doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. You don't have to buy a whole animal like we used to have to do years ago. You can actually contribute whatever amount of money that you choose to different kids. So, I really encourage you to participate. It's a fun event. And that's all I have. So, Christopher. Nope, Karen's next. Sorry about that. Karen?
That's okay, Mayor.
And you have item number, no.
I do not have it, yes.
Kurt has item number 18. Okay, Karen, your report.
Mayor, I've been on the mend, so I've attended the things by committee assignment that I've had to attend. So I haven't been able to do any of what I would call the fun things that we've hosted as of recent, including different events like that or the fireworks. On the 23rd, I also attended Mark's dad's funeral services. Mark, you did a great job eulogizing your dad. The mayor's already commented on how nice the services were. The 26th, I attended the Community Services Commission meeting and my meeting with the city, my weekly meeting with the city manager. Moving on from that, Mayor, I think the last committee assignment that I have to report to you is what you spoke about in the council liaison interviews. And we had 2 great finalists for that, and we'll be recommending the person that we selected to the city council, hopefully for approval. But with that, I'm hoping to continue to feel better, so
Well, I hope
thank
you
you, Mayor.
feel better too. I know you've been under the weather, and Chief Williams was going to be here this evening, but texted me, and he's under the weather. So hopefully he hasn't got what you have,
I hope not.
because yours has lasted quite a while. Councilman Burton, you have item number 18.
Thank you, Mayor. And just as a background to the community, the city of Chino is fortunate to have multiple nonprofits and community groups dedicated to serving the public and preserving Chino's very unique history. To assist in their ongoing efforts, the City Council from time to time authorizes expenditures from the city's Community Support Fund. These expenditures serve as a valid public purpose by helping to continue the outstanding services that these organizations provide to our community. And I am requesting that the City Council approve Community Support Fund contributions to the American Cancer Society, Chino Neighborhood House, and the Rancho del Chino Rotary Club.
Okay, we need a motion and a second. So we have a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Comstock, second from Councilman Flores, I believe it was, and the item passes unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Balance of your report, please.
On the 22nd, I attended the Taste of Chino, the Chino Valley, with some friends, and had a chance to walk through and really enjoy some great food that is right here in our area. A lot of people miss out on it because they think that there's better food out in Orange County or something, but I really encourage you to try out our local fare because we have some pretty good restaurants, folks. They are really good. The 24th, I went to the open house at the fire station down on Kimball. It was the police department's open house to showcase this new substation. Appreciated that. I saw the chief down there, and it was a very, very well attended. And Captain, how many people did we end up having finally come down there? 109. Over 100 people attended the event down in the preserve. That was an outstanding showing. On the 26th, the one-on-one with the city manager. And I also met with the new Southern California Edison Government Relations Manager, Melissa Boyd, who gave me a snapshot of the services that are provided by SoCal Edison. I, along with the Mayor Pro Tem, attended the Community Services Commission meeting that evening. On the 27th, I attended the all-staff meeting at the NAC that was led by our city manager. All of our city employees had a chance to attend that, and our city manager laid out some expectations and really gave our employees an opportunity to voice what they thought was important for the years to come. Very, very nice and refreshing. The 30th, I met with a resident in town and the city manager and our deputy director of development services about some issues in the city. It was a very, very positive meeting. And then later in the evening with the mayor and council member Flores, attended a musical celebration of our nation's heritage, and that was presented by Calvary Chapel Chino Hills, their choir and orchestra. John Burrows, Mayor, as you mentioned, did an incredible job with that orchestra. I was so impressed. And then there was a gentleman named Gary, and forgive me, I don't know Gary's last name. He narrated the program, and it was very well attended. And like the mayor said, when you walked away from that, you felt really, really great to be an American. Awesome show. July 1st, I attended our Chino Fireworks Spectacular with my family. I had the opportunity to have my 5-year-old grandson sit and watch these fireworks go off, and his eyes were as big as saucers, and it was awesome to be able to see that. The rest of the time, he was on all the rides out there. and to be able to look out over the sea of easy ups, again, about 10,000 people. And ladies and gentlemen, when you get that many people into one area, and it's pretty concentrated, you know, even though it's a park, our services just were amazing. City manager, our community services put that show together. They were there at the crack of dawn, probably earlier than that, getting everything set up. You know, the fire department was represented, our police department, Public Works, I believe every single entity of the city was down there working the event. The police department, as usual, did a phenomenal job. They were everywhere, on bicycles, they were on motors, they were on the off-road gators, driving around, and it just was really nice to be able to see that presence. And the people there really appreciated seeing that. A lot of people from out of town, and they just aren't used to this kind of family-friendly environment. And I believe that a lot of them are gonna try to come and, Mayor, and try to find a home to move into here in the city. But it was really nice. On the 3rd, I attended my one-on-one with the city manager. And then today I met with Congresswoman Norma Torres and her staff, and it was a great meeting to be able to sit down and talk about priorities from the federal government as well as our local issues. Very, very positive and uplifting meeting with the Congresswoman. And then the closed session to discuss labor negotiations. And just as a side note, Mayor, talking about, you know, people who live in the downtown area, my mother-in-law was born and raised in the house over here at 4th and D Street. She is 96 years old and almost 97, but she grew up right here in the downtown area.
See, there's something.
There's something to it. So, and that concludes my report, Mayor. Thank you.
You know, the other thing that I failed to mention was our own Janae Baker from the police department sang the national anthem. And I'll tell you what, she has the most fantastic voice, and how cool that we have that kind of talent within our own city. That was really great too. Councilman Flores.
Yeah, you know, I first want to preface this by saying I live in the downtown area, so I hope some of the qualifications are not that I have to be born and raised in the downtown area.
No, but you're gonna live to be 100.
All right, that's what I want to hear, Mayor. Thank you. June 30th, I attended the America, a musical celebration of our nation's heritage. I just want to thank Pastor George Sasso for inviting, you know, the entire council and a lot of people, and just his commitment to the city, to you know, to Americans and to God. On July 1st, I attended the Chino Fireworks Spectacular, and as Kurt mentioned, just seeing the, you know, the sea of canopies out there, I think it was just, you know, you can't even see grass, you know, when you're standing on that stage. You can't see grass other than right in front of the stage, and it's always great to see that. And I did meet a family member who flew in from Tennessee to meet a family member out here specifically for the fireworks show, so It is true what you said, Kurt. I want to thank Warren and his team. There was a resident, Matt Moretto, who reached out regarding some permit process frustrations, and within a day or two, that was resolved and taken care of. So thank you, Warren, and to your staff who handled that. Jack Morgan, I want to say, you know, it's been a pleasure working with you, and you know, we're sad to see you go, but it's well deserved for you and your family, and I wish you well. And last but not least, I want to say the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce Leadership Collaborative is partnering with the Chino Valley Fire Foundation, and we're partnering in the AED program. And if you're listening to this, you know, I'd ask residents to visit the ChinoFireFoundation.com, where you can donate some money to help raise some funds for the AED program that the Fire Foundation has going on. And with that, Mayor, that concludes my comments.
Okay, Councilman Lucio.
You know what, I'm not really going to do a report. I just want to thank you guys both for attending my dad's funeral. It truly meant a lot to my mother and to our family. I do want to just say one thing. The 22nd is going to be the Demolition Derby. We do have a car that's going to be in the Demolition Derby. It's going to be themed. Half a police car, half a taxi cab, and it'll say don't drink and drive on the bottom. But I wanted to thank the Chino Police Department's unions for supporting us. They contributed to our sponsorship, as well as Smash, which is going to be a new simulated golf company that's going to be out of the spectrum. They also bought a sponsorship. So we're currently trying to raise money to feed 450 families for Thanksgiving. So I believe the fire department's also going to join on board. So thank you for that as well. But we're continuing to sell stickers that are going to be placed on the car for the Derby. And I hope to have a picture of the car. I think we're going to put a light bar on top of it. So once that's all put together, I'll bring a picture for the council meeting before the Derby. But we're really looking forward to it, and we're hoping to raise the money and be able to feed the families on Thanksgiving. And that's all the report I have. Thank you.
Who's going to drive the car?
My daughter's going to drive the car.
And she drove last year, right?
She drove last year with no power steering. This year we have power steering, so hopefully she does a little better, but we'll see.
I wonder how long the power steering's going to last.
I don't know, but we're hopeful. We're hopeful. We're one place away from the money, so hopefully this time we get in there.
It's a fun event. City Manager Reich.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I do have a couple items. First, I want to echo your sentiments about the fireworks spectacular. It is one of our biggest events in the city. I want to thank the Community Services Department who plans for that event at least 8 months out of the year. Public Works, Police Department, Finance, and HR, every department, administration really gets involved in this event in some way or another in the planning, because it's a long time to plan this event. And our Chino residents come here and they never cause a problem, and it's such a fantastic event. So we're always looking forward to next year. And I would like to say the carnival rides were a great step up this year. So hopefully we'll get them back, and maybe for Christmas as well. So we'll see what happens with that. So I know your grandson enjoyed those rides. My kids were afraid and wouldn't go next to them. So I didn't get that. I'd also like to thank Jack Morgan for his service to the city for the last 10 years. He's been just an integral part of our team in the administration department. He's got a promotion in another city, which I won't mention, but we wish him the best of luck. And I know you're going to do great things over there. So congratulations. And finally, I know that you all know that our chief of police has announced retirement. I'm not sure if all of the public knows that, but we have selected our next chief of police, which will be our deputy chief, Kevin Menson. And he is here today, and I would love for him to come up and say a couple words.
Thank you, Dr. Reich. So I am truly honored to have the opportunity to lead the great men and women of the Chino Police Department and really have a front row seat of watching the selfless work that they do on a daily basis. So there's no other community I'd rather be serving than here in Chino. I started my career off here over 26 years ago as a young police cadet. My wife and I, we purchased our first home here in Chino. So I've been part of this community for a very long time, and I know this community, they truly support the Chino Police Department. I want to thank Dr. Linda Reich for having the confidence in me and selecting me to be the 19th police chief for the Chino Police Department. I'd like to thank you, Mayor and Council, for your ongoing support, not only of me, but also for the police department over the numerous years. Over my career, I've had the opportunity to work for some extraordinary leaders and police chiefs. Two of them being here today, I would like to thank Chief Simmons and retired Chief Comstock, both of you who I've worked for as a police captain, and you had a big part on my career and me getting here today. I'd like to thank all of you for being here this evening, especially the men and women of the Chino Police Department. This was one of the longer council meetings, so I appreciate you staying here. It really means a lot for your support, and I'm excited to continually work alongside you. And then just lastly, I'd like to thank my wife. She is truly the rock of our family, and I would not be standing here today if it was not for her.
Would you bring her up and introduce her, please?
Absolutely, come on. She didn't know what she was getting into, apparently. This is my wife, Desiree. So we'll be married here next month for 23 years. And so she's also part of this community. She's been teaching with the Chino School District. She's a math teacher at Magnolia Junior High. She's been with the district for going on 20 years. So between the two of us, we've been part of this this community for quite some time. So thank you once again. And as a tradition, I think I am the only one that is excited for Chief Simmons's upcoming retirement. So
There's two of us.
it's okay. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody.
You're welcome. You know, isn't it amazing that now, once you're appointed chief, we will have had 2 chiefs that have come up from the ranks of explorer or cadet all the way to chief. I think that is a real testament to our department. It's a testament to the men and the women that work for Chino PD, that you love this community to the point where you stay, that you don't job hop, you don't, parlay off of other communities and stuff, that you love it, you're invested, and that you stay. Thank you very much. City Attorney Galante.
Thank you. Just want to congratulate Kevin on the appointment, but I also wanted to clarify that I happened to look up the government code section on appointment of planning commissioners, and there's absolutely no limitation on their voting rights, so my apologies for not knowing that. I had not remembered that. It does give the council broad authority.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I have.
Chief Simmons, one of your final reports, doggone it.
Yep, I am very excited for my retirement as well. But really, and I know Mayor Pro Tem Comstock understands this, leaving an organization like this is extremely difficult. But knowing that the person who's taking over is the integrity and the quality of Kevin, it makes it much easier. And I know that the Chino Police Department is great hands. I want to thank our city manager for making a great selection, and again for your guys' support. And I will be cheering you on as well as the rest of the department from afar. So thank you.
From Idaho.
I did want to share. Last night was the 4th of July, as you might have heard.
Yes, you have no idea.
Yes, and typically what we have found historically is midweek is usually busier for us when it comes to illegal fireworks, and we're seeing this across the Southland because on weekends people tend to travel other places for the holiday, but when they have to work the next day and the day before, they tend to stay into their communities. And so our calls for service went up. We had 235 fireworks-related calls just in the 6 hours from 6 p.m. to midnight. That was up from 200 the year before, and our highest total in the past 5 years. We fielded, because it was a midweek deployment, we fielded 61 police officers, and they wrote 51 citations in that 6 hour period of time, 33 to Chino residents and 18 to non-residents. And that is up, that's the most we've written in the past 5 years. Last year we wrote 33. So I'm very proud of the work that the men and women did to keep this community safe while everybody else was at home barbecuing and having fun. They were here dedicated to the safety of everybody that was here. I also want to thank the Fire District again for partnering with us and letting us have a portion of the station down on Kimball that we can open up as a substation and serve the residents down there. And that's all I have to report, unless you have any questions for me.
No, it's just, we noticed this year the amount of illegal fireworks, not so much before the 4th. It was very interesting. It was kind of quiet a couple of days before the 4th, which was unusual. But I will tell you what, last night was crazy. I mean, some of the aerials, and it was a full-blown fireworks show. I don't know how people afford that stuff. It was crazy. It was honestly crazy. And the explosions, I don't know what you call it, but the amount and the intensity of the explosions, you would think people's homes would be blown up. But it was really intense last night. Now I want to say it went till about 1 o'clock in the morning. It was crazy. I thank God our animals are kind of desensitized to it. The horses just keep eating. They don't even react to it anymore. You know, or two dogs, the Dalmatians are fine with it. The little pit bull is absolutely petrified. So we have to put her in the garage where she can hide. But, oh my goodness, it was intense. So was it intense throughout the community, do you think?
Well, it was intense watching the news broadcasts. I live in an adjacent city, and that no fireworks are legal, and it was just as intense there. I think we had a little bit of a lull in 21 and 22 because there were a lot of supply chain issues with the product, and they solved those issues this year.
Obviously. Thank you. Yes, Chris?
Yeah, I just want to mention, I had a proposal from a resident, and this is for Linda, for Fred, for the mayor, and all of us to consider. But the proposal was that we invite all the residents with the illegal fireworks, and we let them know, hey, there's a face-off. And we let them face off at Ayala Park. That way, when 4th of July comes, there's no illegal fireworks that are being popped.
Can you imagine?
An amnesty day, I like it.
An amnesty day. Our whole park would get blown up, Chris. Good grief.
Thank you.
We'll take that under advisement. How about that? Jeremy, you're here for Chief Williams.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. Jeremy Alt, Deputy Chief with the Fire District. So yeah, the Fire District also stepped up behind the scenes for 4th of July as well. We were happy to be out for the fireworks spectacular. A lot of behind the scenes work from our community risk reduction specialists to make sure that that whole fireworks display goes off without any safety issues. We also increased our staffing with paramedics and additional staff to support that event. So I was out there for a few hours and really appreciated the community and everybody being out there. In addition to that, for actual 4th of July activities, our community risk reduction specialists also inspected all 25 of the booths several times a day from the 1st to the 4th. On the 4th of July, we had 10 calls for fires that were fireworks related. Fortunately, none of those were related to structures. We did confiscate over 500 pounds of fireworks this year. We did have one citizen injury related to fireworks that was transported to a local hospital. Fortunately, nothing greater than that. In addition to 4th of July, speaking on behalf of activities developing with leadership, several of us from our senior command staff recently traveled back east to Pennsylvania for a leadership development class. Just wanted to actually thank the city and the police department. We invited several members of the senior command staff from the police department to come along with us. And it was a great training. There were several cohorts involved in this training from lots of different emergency management groups throughout the nation. On behalf of our department, it's very proud for us to say we were there with our police partners. That's very unique. In fact, we got a lot of comments asking how can these other agencies get their police and fire to travel together for that level of leadership development. So thank you very much to the city and the police department for supporting that effort as we continue to learn and grow and work together closely, as many of us have. And with that, I'd like to congratulate Chief Simmons on his retirement a little bit early. He and I had an opportunity to work several calls together, high-profile calls over my career. Thank you for his support. And obviously, congratulations to Chief Menson as he moves into that role. We've also worked closely together, but on behalf of the entire district, congratulations to them both, and thank you very much.
Well, the closeness between PD and fire has always been very, very special. And
Very
I know
much.
we've always appreciated it. You know, one thing I wanted to compliment PD on again, or actually was the traffic control on the night of our fireworks spectacular. It was incredible this year. I mean, it went very smoothly. People got out of there very quickly. Unusually quickly, and it seemed like the pedestrians were cooperating also instead of running helter-skelter. So thank you very much for the traffic control. And with that, we will adjourn to our regular meeting that will be held July 18th here in the council chambers at 6, with closed session starting no sooner than 4 if necessary. We are adjourned.